Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Deku was raised by Frank West Part 1. If you guys enjoy this what if and want to see Part 2, comment down below and let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content and leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. The author of the story 𝗵𝗃𝗿𝗺𝗺 Wattpad. So let's start the video. Name: Izuku West formerly Midoriya. Name: Izuku West formerly Midoriya. Family: Frank West. Stepfather: Inko Midoriya. Mother: Hisashi Midoriya. Izumi Midoriya. Twin sister. Personality: intelligent, funny, caring, brave, determined, and daring. Age: 18. Dr. 120-23. Dr. 2 and case 031. Dr. 332. Dr. 4. Height: 6'0". Weight: 172 IBS. Skills: journalism, flexibility, endurance, aikido, weapon, languages, guns, taekwondo, karate, reading, cooking and wrestling. Likes: girlfriends, friends, photography, kids. His parents: Frank and Inko. Eraserhead, Chuck Green. Sports, reading, All Might. Not a crazy fan, having a laugh with dad. Izumi Midoriya. After age 15 and music. Hates Hisashi Midoriya. Father: fake heroes, people who mess with his loved ones, special forces, clowns, psychopaths except Cletus and Paul, zombies, Katsuki, Bakugo, cheaters and perverts. 𝗵𝗃𝗿𝗺𝗺 1. 𝗵𝗃𝗿𝗺𝗺 1. Yui Kodai Rumi Usajiyama Ryuko and 𝗵𝗃𝗿𝗺 Ryuko and 𝗵𝗃𝗿𝗺 and 𝗵𝗃𝗿𝗺 2. Lady Nagant. This is the 𝗵 from After Dead Rising. 12. This is the 𝗵 from After Dead Rising. 1. You is a college, by the way. Outfit: camera, guns and knife, guns and knife, guns and knife. 𝗵𝗃𝗿𝗺 Jesse McCarthy. Amber and Crystal Bailey. Amber and Crystal Bailey. Amber and Crystal Bailey. Rebecca Chong. Okay, I know what you all are thinking, but don't worry, I'm gonna flip the script. Okay, I know what you all are thinking, but don't worry, I'm gonna flip the script. If you play Dead Rising games, you know what happens, but if you didn't, sorry, can't give spoilers. I'm gonna start doing a prologue after that. It will be a great story from Dead Rising 1, 3 including DLC. If you want me to Dead Rising 4 story, okay, I'll do it, but if not, that's alright. Nobody povs. In 𝗵𝗃𝗿𝗺, Japan, there are 80% of the population of people with quirks, basically born with them. However, there are 20% people born quirkless, which is Izuku Midoriya one of them. Izuku Midoriya, along with her twin sister, Izumi Midoriya, were going to a hospital to do a quirk checkup. His sister got a quirk and she was happy. Izuku thought that a quirk will powerful than hers. But he was wrong, he was diagnosed as quirkless. His parents were in shock and confused. His sister was upset from his brother being quirkless. Izuku was frozen with sadness, about to tear up. I don't believe it, my son is quirkless. Nobody. Hisashi, Izuku's father, thought. My brother is quirkless, I hope he doesn't plan on becoming a hero without a quirk. Izumi thought. My little green bean, he's quirkless, I'm so sorry. Inko Midoriya, Izuku's mom, thought. I'm quirkless. Izuku thought with a sad look, and he looked down with depression. At home after the checkup at the hospital, Izuku along with his sister and parents went home. When they arrived, Izuku went to upstairs because he was still upset about this. His father ignored it like it no big deal. His mother on other cared for both of her children. It doesn't matter if he has a quirk, as he and Izumi are happy, but she feels guilty that she let him down. His sister didn't know what to think but to feel bad for his brother. Inko went upstairs to check on while the dad was celebrating Izumi's quirk. She was happy to celebrate but upset about Izuku at the same time. Izuku was crying his eyes out of not getting a quirk. He told his mom with tears still in his eyes. Why, you see, mom, anyone can become a hero. His voice sounded sad, and it made his mom sad too, as Izuku was watching All Might saving a bunch of people with a smile on his face. Inko went to hug his son for comfort, and as he noticed her crying too. Mom, why are you crying? He questioned with worry for his mother. She sniffles and spoke up. It just means I don't want you upset about this, and it makes worry, Izuku. His eyes widened as he was shocked. I was really hoping that you get to just like your sister, but as strong as her. Instead, you're quirkless and... She sniffles and continues. And it's not fair for that to happen to you. She cries and had a look of disappointment in herself. I'm sorry, my little green bean. Izuku was stunned with shock to see his mother like this. He didn't know what to feel, so there was only one option. He wiped the tears from his face and her face too. Izuku's look went sad to confidence and he took a deep breath. Listen, Mom, I appreciate what you are doing for me, but don't worry about me, okay? I'm fine. He smiled straight at her and it made her troubles go away a little. You once said that a mother's job is make their children happy and love them no matter what. Same goes for the dad, so let me return the favor, okay? He said with sincere. It made her almost smile. I'll admit I was upset that I didn't get a quirk, but that's okay. I could try other things to make others happy and save people, like become an officer or something. He took a deep breath and smiled. Whatever I'll become, it will always be remembered every day, and don't worry, Mom, your little green bean is on the case of making his mother's frown upside down. He got an idea and he started to tickle her. She started to laugh and asked him to stop it. That tickles, Izuku. This was a great moment to see his mother smiling and not upset. It made him cry, not tears of sadness but tears of joy. At school the next day, Izuku's parents dropped them from school and Izuku was sitting on the swing thinking about what to do. To make others happy, but what? Izuku thought with questionable face. This is really bugging him. Suddenly he heard a voice. He then turned to see Katsuki Bakugo with his sister behind him. I was curious, wondering what he wants. Hey, Izuku, your sister tells me you don't have a quirk, is that right? He asked, grinning. I looked at my sister like she was upset about something. Yeah, I don't want, but that's okay. Izuku said, smiling. They were looked at each other and were confused. What do you mean, that's okay? Bakugo asked curiously. Kaken, don't you see I could find another way to save people or at least make them happy as long I live? Izuku said with confidence. Izumi was shocked with worry for his brother and Bakugo was smirking like he had an idea. Oh, is that so? He asked. Izuku nodded. Yeah, it is. Now all I have to do is dash. He was cut off by a blast from Palm, and it made Izuku groaned in pain. Ow, what was that, Kaken? He looked at him with annoyance and a little worry. Don't be ridiculous. If you think you can help people without a quirk, you're dim and wrong, Deku. He shouted at that last part. It made Izuku flinched a little bit. He turned to his sister to see if she would stop him, but she used telekinesis to lift Izuku up. He couldn't move and he slammed hard onto the ground, causing him more pain. He looked at his sister with look of confusion and sadness. What are you doing, Oni-chan? Izuku asked. She looked at him, did the same move again. He's right, you know you can't be a hero without a quirk, so just give it up, Deku. Izumi said. Izuku couldn't know what to do. So are you gonna stop being a hero? She asked with worry. Izuku realized what Izumi was trying to do and he couldn't believe it. She's trying to protect me by killing me. That's the stupid idea I ever heard. Izuku thought while feeling betrayed and not having faith in Izuku. He stands up with a determined look. You know what? No, I don't give a damn in what you think. I will become something better than a hero without a quirk and you guys can't stop from making my own choices, so piss us off. Izuku said, glaring at them. This made them more annoyed, so they did the same thing again. It made Izuku scream in pain. He laid on the floor with his eyes opened. The two walked away as they were done with him. Izuku was on the floor crying, but not because in pain. Betrayal, the worst pain you could ever experienced. He got up and went home, and it was going to be different from now on. 3 years later, as time passes, Izuku was experiencing more pain than physical. For example, he has a great mother but a bad father. He kept neglecting Izuku. It made him hurt more ways than you can express. Izuku's mom was beginning to be bulky. It made Hisashi upset that she didn't see that skinny body again, but that didn't stop him. You know how all husbands say that they are working late? Well, he's working something alright. Izuku noticed him acting strange, so he followed him and found the truth. He took a picture of him and some chick walking in a hotel together. It made Izuku confused what just happened, but he'll have to wait until he's older. The beatings from his sister and ex-best friend have gotten now. Everyone else was in on it. He would hide his bruises, but it didn't last long. Izuku was walking home. His father was supposed to pick him up, but he rather hang out with his sister than him. After the 3 years of being neglected, Izuku didn't care. He used to it. When he was walking home, he started to feel dizzy and he fell forward. He laid ground. Luckily he was next to the house. Inko just came home pulling up the driveway, and when she got out the car, she spotted someone sitting on the ground. Inko got a closer look and noticed it was her son. Her eyes widened with worry and hand on her mouth. She shakes Izuku to wake him up, but he could barely breathe. This made her worry and scared that she was about to lose her son. Inko brought him to fix him up. She removed his shirt and jacket. She saw scars and bruises on his body. It made her tear up a little bit and worried. She snapped out of it and went to get supplies to fix Izuku. After she was fixing him, he came around and slowly opened his eyes. Izuku noticed his body was bandaged. He looked around the room to see his mom resting. He realized that she found the scars and there was no use of hiding it now. Izuku shook his mom, causing her to wake up, and she saw his son with his head down. He took a deep breath and asked, "How long was I out?" Izuku asked. Inko sighs and shook her head. "You were out for quite some time." Inko answered. He nodded. "But enough about that. Who gave 𝗧𝗵𝗲 bruises and how long have you had them for?" Izuku sighs and nodded. "Okay, you deserve to know the truth," Izuku said. Izuku explained the whole happening at school. She was shocked that her daughter and her best friend's son would be her son on a daily basis. Not only that, it made her more mad that whole school joined. Inko is having mixed emotions right now, and she took a deep breath. Then she asked one more question. "Is there anything else?" Izuku nodded. "What is it?" "You wait here, Mom." Izuku gave her small smile. He went to get the picture of his dad and the woman. He showed him the picture and she was not happy. She felt disgusted, angry, and sad. Izuku put his hand on her shoulder. "It's okay, Mom, I don't know why you are upset about this picture, but..." He looked down sad and clenching his fists. "Izuku," Inko said with sadness. Izuku sniffles and wiped away a tear. Inko Midoriya was a mom who should have known that his son was upset, so she made a choice and she didn't hesitate. "Izuku, go pack your stuff, we're leaving." Izuku's eyes widened by surprise and nodded. He went to pack his stuff. Inko grabbed a piece of paper and pen as she wrote down a goodbye and divorce letter. They put their stuff in the car and went off, hopefully far away from the sister and father. After they left, another car pulls up, revealing Izumi and Hisashi coming home. When they arrived, Hisashi called out Inko, but she didn't answer, and he called, still nothing. They checked the whole house, but nobody was here except a note, and Izumi found it and read it aloud. "Dear Hisashi and Izumi Midoriya, you're probably wondering we are or where I am if you give CRP about my son. We are somewhere far, far away, somewhere you can never find us. Izumi Midoriya, I'm ashamed to even call you my daughter after what you did to him. I know you wanted to protect him, but that was very stupid and he almost died. If I ever see you again, young lady, you gonna feel something else worse than pain. Hisashi Midoriya, you were the love of my life, but that man died a long time ago. You neglected your son on purpose because you think he's quirkless and weak, but who am I to judge, right? I mean, it's not like you cheated on me with some skank, because that would never happen. Yes, that was sarcasm. I hope you are happy with this, guys. Thanks to your dumb choices, we are moving somewhere far away. You may see us again or not, but I hope your sake don't try to find us. From your used to wife and mother, Inko Midoriya." After she finished reading, Izumi was feeling guilty and she wishes tried better, but it was too late. However, Hisashi felt differently. He felt pissed about the letter. "That green little brat," Hisashi said in an anger tone. Izumi looked at, "What the? Does he have ruined my life by squealing on me?" If he hadn't told her he was cut off by a slap by her daughter, and he held his hand to his cheek. "First off, he didn't ruin your life, you did because you were sleeping around with another woman, and I swear to you if you talk about like that again. And second, if you all, yes, I was bad to him, but you're his dad, for peace sake." He was about to speak. "I'm not done. Izuku cares about Mom and what you did to her. I don't blame her, and another thing, good luck sleeping alone, because I'm going to my friend's house and I won't go until you figure yourselves out." She went to grab her backpack, pack her stuff, and she was about to leave, but Hisashi stopped her. "I can't believe it, after everything I did for you, this how repay," Hisashi said. Izumi rolled his eyes and left without saying a word. Where were Izuku and Inko? They now live in the United States. They are sleeping in an apartment in Nevada, Colorado. His mother was having trouble finding a job, and after 3 weeks she found a job. It was a waitress job and it paid enough. After her job was done, she stopped as she was surrounded by a couple thugs or perverts. 2. Hey mama, are you a cigarette because you are smoking? The creepy guy was grinning. It made Inko shiver. She tried walking away, but the goons stopped her from moving forward. Look guys, I'm really not in the mood, so just step aside or else. Oh yeah, or else what? She punched him straight in the face, and a guy got kicked in the nuts by her, and some guy pulled out the knife from behind and was about to stab her, but then suddenly got punched in the face, breaking his nose. Inko turned to see a man with a camera with a confused look on her face. The goons were shocked with confusion and anger because someone was meddling with business. Hey, you 𝗵𝘃𝗲, you broke my nose. The goon said in his anger voice. Oh sorry, my bad, I was just aiming for something ugly, but you'll do. The man grinning taunted him. 2. He growls and stand up as he went to stab him. You're dead, but... He was about to get stabbed, but his arm was grabbed and he was slammed on the floor. He punched him in the face and knocked him out. One guy was about to attack. Inko put her foot, causing him to trip. Another guy used his knife. The man dodged it, ran to the wall and kicked the goon straight in the face. The guy got up from the floor and started tackling him. You son of a bitch. The guy, as he was about to punch the man with the camera, then Inko punched him with all strength, straight in the face. He was rolling on the floor and went to sleep. If that's another for knocked out. The man with the camera was shocked by the woman's strength, and he got the man up. They ran away to not get catched by more bad dudes. After running away, they arrived at Inko's apartment because her work is so close. They took a minute to catch their breath. Are you all right, Mrs.? The man asked. Inko nodded. Yes, I'm fine, and Miss Midoriya, Inko Midoriya? She said. He nodded. Thanks for the save, mister. He held out his hand and said, the name is Frank West. 1. She shook his hand and greeted him. Thanks for the save, Mr. West. He shook his head. It was no big deal, and just call me Frank, okay? He insisted. Inko chuckled and smiled. Well, Frank, either way you are great hero in my book. There aren't enough of those. Inko said, referring to her ex-husband. Well, I don't know about that, but thanks, and I'll see you around. He said as he about to leave. A door opened, revealing 7-year-old Izuku. Mom. Izuku said in a tried voice. He looked to see Frank. Who's this? She bent down with a smile. Izuku, this is Frank West, sweetie. He's saved from some bad goons. Izuku looked at him and smiled. Thank you for saving my mom, Mr. West. Izuku said as he took a bow. Just Frank is fine, kid, and no worries. Frank said, smiling. I just hope you and your dad aren't mad at me for talking to your mom like some creep. Izuku looked down and was upset. Frank was confused. Oh no, did I say something wrong? Inko sighs and shook her head. No, it just complicated, and I know we just but come inside and we'll talk about it. That caught him by surprise. Are you sure? Frank asked. She nodded. Okay, lead the way. He followed them to their apartment. Inko told the whole story as they sat down with Frank holding a cup of water. She told about Izuku's life, his father, sister, and ex-best friend. Frank was in shock when he heard this. He was pissed, upset, and annoyed. He looked over to Izuku to see him with a sad look on the boy's face. Frank took a deep breath and calmed down, still a little bit angry. I don't know about you, but excuse my language, that's F up. He said. She nodded and Izuku flinched just thinking about it. It's just me and my son now. I've been working to pay for the rent and we have nowhere else to go, but we're getting by. Frank looked down and sighed. He got an idea that would help them, but it's crazy to work. Look, I know you two are suffering a lot, but not for long. They were confused and he pulled out a card. I'm a freelance photojournalist, and if you want to help me, you take my card, and it could be your side job, earn extra money. Their eyes widened by surprise. It's not every day a stranger helps out every day. Frank, this is a generous offer, but you don't have to dash. He cut her off. Please, I insist, it's the least after all. You did just save from getting my butt kicked too. She sighs and nodded. Excuse me, Frank, sir? Izuku said. He turned to the boy. What quirk did you use to help my mom? His eyes widened, he laughed and smiled. What? Izuku was confused along with his mom. Believe it or not, I didn't use a quirk, I'm quirkless. Their eyes widened and jaws opened. Frank chuckled. You're quirkless? Frank nodded. That is so awesome. Izuku smiled with joy. It made them laugh and thought my son/this kid has a heart of gold. Inko was thought about it and nodded. Okay, I'll do it. Inko said. Frank smiled and nodded. But if I do, who's going to watch my boy? Inko said in a whisper. Don't worry about it, you can bring him along, my job isn't against bringing kids along. Frank said smiling. Inko sighed in relief. Thank you, Frank West. Inko said. He nodded and smiled back. She checked the time and 10:05 p.m. It's getting late, I'll walk you to the door. Frank and Izuku get some rest, we got a big ahead of us. They nodded and when Inko grabbed his wrist. Thanks again for helping us. No worries. He smiled, she gave a kiss on the cheek, it caught by surprise. She smiled and giggled, he chuckled and smiled. See you later. He opened the door and left, she closed the door to start a new day. The job Frank offered was great, it turned Inko and Izuku's lives around. Inko's health was in care so she didn't have to worry about stress, and Frank got to know Izuku more. 3 years later, Frank West was getting great with Inko and Izuku, they went from workers to family. He took a love interest in Inko and he confessed to her, he was a little nervous but he did it. As for Izuku, Frank described him as a kid who needed to learn a few or more things and had pure heart. Izuku was taught how to fight, do journalism, make jokes, sports and good advices. Izuku taught himself how to talk in others' languages besides English, exercising, and music, which he loves to do. He loved that Frank was kind to his mom, and he proud to call him father. At the age of 13 of Izuku, they got married, it was great wedding and Izuku made a decision to help around the house. Even though he was young for a journalist, he's glad to train under the man who raised him. Izuku couldn't be more proud to Frank in their lives and he's happy. Even though Izuku doesn't have a quirk, he still wanted to live better and stronger. 5 years later, Izuku's 𝗵𝘃𝗲. My life didn't start off so smoothly, but a couple of years later, I now have decent life and a good job. My new dad, Frank, was kind person to my mom and me, but I think it's just us. He taught me things about his work and wars, which is probably where he got his fighting skills. I wonder what this was taught in, my dad never mentioned, but I guess I'll never know. I even taught myself a few things about music and stuff by reading or a website. Now I was sitting on the couch, graduated from high school and just came from a job. Apparently some guy was cheating on wife, he found out about me taking pictures and brought goons with him. I beat them, of course. I was chilling at home with my mom, they let her go home for some reason. We heard a knock on our door and my dad voice as he just came back with big news. Hey guys. Dad greeted us as he closed the door. Hi honey/hey dad. We said with a wave from me. I just got an unknown tip something is going to happen at Wilamette, Colorado. He smiled and kissed my mother's lips, I was uncomfortable and shook it off. Wilamette, I heard the only good thing about that place is the shopping mall. I joked, they sighed and chuckled. Well, either way I'm going check this out tomorrow. Dad said, I nodded and mom sighs. Dad noticed this and was confused. What's wrong, babe? He said with concern. I'm sorry, but I can't go with you. My eyes widened along with my dad. I'm going on a field trip with my students. My mom got a job as photography teacher and I heard she's doing with photos because my dad taught her well along with me. But I was more in music than photography. My dad didn't mind with my opinion, along I was happy. Man, that sounds cheesy if you think about. Is there a way they could find someone else to do it? Dad asked. She shook her head and sighed in defeat. Okay, I understand you have a job to do, I can go by myself. My dad was upset about this, but my dad guess was he wanted to take her on the job for alone time. I looked at Dad and asked, you know, Dad, if want to, I'll go with you if you're cool with that. He sighs and shook his head. Son, it's okay you don't have dash, I cut him off. No, Dad, I know you are upset and you need someone like a friend or maybe a son, you always been there for us, so let me return the favor, you have been the best thing that has to us and that's why I proud of you, my dad. I said, giving him a small smile. His eyes widened and then he laughed. Mom giggled. Man, aren't you a cheesy guy? Dad said, smirking. I scoffed and smiled. Okay, you can come to Wilamette, if you're okay with that, honey. He asked her. I did puppy eyes and Dad played along. Mom giggled at my moment with Dad. Okay, you go have fun, boys. Mom said, smiling. We pumped our fist and yelled, yeah. Inko laughed at my moment with Dad. It made me smile. I went to go pack my stuff in a backpack. I packed some food, water, and my gear. I got a pistol along with a knife from Dad on my 16th birthday because he covered wars, and plus I asked him to teach me how to shoot. You never know what could happen. My dad walked in and said, remember, it's gonna take 3 days, so make sure you have everything you need. I nodded and gave him a thumbs up. By the way, I want to give you something. I raised an eyebrow as I was curious. What is it? I asked. Just wait here. I nodded and he went to get something. Close your eyes, son. I closed them and I'm still confused. What is he going to give me? I thought about it. Okay, open them. My eyes opened and I was in shock to see a camera given to me by my dad. Surprise, your very own camera. My jaw dropped and I smiled. Whoa, cool. Thanks, Dad, you rock. Dad chuckled and shook his head. No problem, Izuku. Dad appreciates it. He put his hand on my shoulder. Now you remember everything I taught you, yes? I nodded and he gave me a thumbs up. All right then, get some rest, we got a big day ahead of us. I nodded and he walked away. Night, Dad and Mom. You too, kiddo. Sleep tight, my green bean. I chuckled at my mom's nickname for me and I went to get rest. 3 days, huh? I wonder how long the trip is to Wilamette. I guess we'll find out in the morning. Meanwhile, somewhere in Colorado, 𝗧𝗵𝗲. At night time, there were crickets and a frog off the side of the road. Then there were footsteps from basically a person revealing its shoes, which is weird because I was walking the person walking towards the road and got ran over by a car, leaving him on the ground dead. The car revealed a woman driving in shock and a little girl who heard the strange noise. Start to 0:34 September 19th 11:27 p.m. Izuku Midoriya. We decided to take a ride in the helicopter considering Dad told me for some reason that the military were blocking the roads to Wilamette. I sat on the right side and my dad sat on the other side. My dad and I were taking pictures of the area of Wilamette, Colorado. We didn't say anything the whole ride here, and then Ed, the guy who flew the helicopter, spoke up. Say, buddy, your son mentioned something about research for a story. He mentioned me telling him that. That's right, I got a tip that something big's happening. Dad said he took a picture. In a nowhere little town like that, they sure didn't mention anything about it on TV. Ed said. I sighed and nodded. Yeah, my dad is a freelancer. He doesn't make his living or mine for the TV to tell us what to cover, pal. I said. Ed weirdly chuckled and Dad shook his head and smiled. I used my camera to see if I could find it and I see the town. We're here, Dad. I said, and he took off his shades. Here she is. Ed said, laughed and continued. Wilamette, Colorado, population 53, 594, distinguishing characteristics Jack. He laughed once. We rolled our eyes by Ed's personality. About the only thing to do in this town is to kill time at the shopping mall. That caught my interest. Look, that's where heading first, could be a lead there. I said. He nodded and then took a picture of the army blocking the road. What was that, the army? Ed asked with a surprised look. Looks, you were right about that, Dad. Yup, looks taking the helicopter was the way to go. I bet they got all roads blocked off by now. He said as he got up and told Ed. All right, we want to take shots of the hole before the National Guard finishes roping it off. Take us over the main street. Ed gave him a thumbs up. We arrived at the main street, and what we saw blew our minds. The helicopter flies over a guy being attacked by people. He fought back with a bat and got top of the car. Whoa, what is that, some kind of riot? Ed asked, confused. We were confused as he was. We saw a guy being attacked by people as he was on the top of car. He starts swinging his bat around and he noticed us and waved his arms, which is a sign to help. He gets by the leg and falls flat on the car. Is what you and your son came to take pictures of? Ed asked. Sure is. Dad answered. I nodded and I noticed something from a distance. It was a bunch of people hitting a bus. Hey, Dad, check this out. Look at those people. Just what the hell is going on here? I asked as I'm confused and Dad shrugged. I have no idea, but one thing for sure, whatever's going on down there, it's not business usual in this town. Dad replied. Ed flew over places. We saw chaos in Wilamette, Colorado. I was still wondering what is happening here. Suddenly, we saw an explosion from the gas station and our eyes widened, letting out a whoa. Holy, did you see that? Ed asked. I didn't know what to say except my dad. Yeah. He said. Then I noticed others were still moving while on fire. They should be dead by the fire and explosion, they are still moving. I said, still in shock. I know, son, we are going to figure this out. Dad reassured me. I nodded and gave a small smile. I gotta take her up for a sec. Ed went a little higher. I took some pictures and I turned my camera to the left to see a woman being attacked on the building. Take us down, we have to check out that building. I told Ed. Where? Ed asked. The one right below us. We saw her being surrounded by people trying to attack. She was near the edge of the building. She pointed her gun at the people or whatever they are and started shooting, which is weird. That could have hurt or killed them. She ran out of ammo. She got creative and threw the gun at the person's head. It looked like it barely hurt the person. Nanny, he should be knocked out. I thought with worry. The woman saw us and started pointed at us. She turned to not the person tackling her over the edge and they fell hard. Unless you're all might or 𝗵𝘃𝗃𝗧𝗵, you're dead. We cringed by the woman's death. We want to see center of town, take us there. Dad suggested Ed we move forward. Roger. Ed flew to the center of town. When we arrived at the mall, we saw a bunch of people outside the entrance of the mall. What's with all these people, a whole sale? I thought jokingly. Me and Dad were taking pictures. Then we saw a helicopter pad on the top of the mall. Hey, can you get us to the rooftop of that mall? Dad asked. I nodded and Ed looked at us like we were crazy. You've got to kidding me. Ed said. I shook my head. Afraid not, pal. I said. Man, you both are nuts. He muttered. I rolled my eyes. My dad opened a case and I checked my stuff to see what's in there. Everything I need, I suppose. Check it and zip it up the backpack. I put on my backpack and my dad closed the case. All right, listen, don't forget to come back for us. Dad reminded him not to forget. I nodded. As long as you and your kid ain't dead, Fred. Ed said jokingly. I rolled my eyes and sighed. It's Frank West, remember that name because the whole world is going to know in 3 days, as long as me and Izuku get the scoop. Frank said. I nodded and smiled. All right. Then I noticed an enemy helicopter and shouted, Ed, look. He turned his head and was caught by surprise. He turned the helicopter to the side to dodge. We almost fell out of the helicopter, but we grabbed the bars holding on tight. My dad's case was about fall. He didn't catch it, but luckily I caught it in time and gave it to Dad. We were still being chased by black helicopters, and we needed to get to the rooftop. Get us back down to that rooftop. Dad yelled into the mic and he put it away. Hurry, Ed. I did the same thing. I know I'm gonna get my butt chewed out for this one. Ed said sarcastically. He drove the chopper to the rooftop. We couldn't land, but we might as well jump. We're going down. We got up and jumped out of the helicopter. Woohoo/oh yeah. We yelled out a battle cry as we rolled. It might have hurt my dad's back a little and I was holding on my camera along with my dad. Then we got up and stretched. Think age is catching up to you, old man. I said jokingly. Frank chuckled and smiled. Easy, it's gonna happen to you too. Dad remarked. I shrugged. Hello there. We heard a man's voice and we turned to see a guy standing against the wall with his arms crossed. You're reporters, aren't you? Yeah. Dad said. I nodded. You both came alone. The guy asked. Yeah, we're freelancers, basically going to the battlefield with no crew, just me and Dad. I said. Dad nodded. So, what's going on here anyway? Dad asked. You both came by helicopter, didn't you? What did you see from the sky? The guy asked us to explain and just ignored my dad's question. I mean, if it were just a riot, I doubt the military would have quartered the entire area. The moratorium on information getting out is a little extreme, but that's just our opinion. I explained. There's something else I can't put my finger on. It doesn't sound like civil disobedience, it's too quiet. Dad finished for me. The guy chuckled. Almost as if everyone's already dead. He said. I sighed and nodded. Yeah, so why don't tell us already what's going on? Dad asked once again. I think you'd better see for yourself, this my friends. He took a pause and looked at us. Is hell? I squint my eyes at the guy's response. He went back to stand against the wall. Come on, let's get some answers. I said. Dad nodded. We opened the rooftop door and we went down the stairs. We were in the security room and we went straight to check out the security cameras. Dad, look. I said, pointing at the screen in the parking lot. We saw 3 guys pulling a girl out of the car and someone was eating her shoulder. Our eyes widened with confusion and worried. What in the world? Dad said, confused as I was. We went outside the break room and saw the door to our right. This door must lead to front entrance of the mall. I said to him. We opened the door and went in the hallway. Entrance plaza. We opened the door to find ourselves at the entrance plaza. I turn to see stairs and I see people blocking the entrance with pots, benches, and other stuff. This might be suspicious. You got your gun, Dad? I asked. He nodded. That case I got that almost fell off the helicopter, it was a handgun. Why do we have guns? Well, it's complicated or whatever. We went down the stairs and saw an old lady talking about her missing dog, Madonna. Yes, she named after an artist, can you believe that? Then there have been other weird dog names. She shoved into us and asked, have you seen my baby? I can't leave without my precious little sweetie doggy. Oh, where's my Madonna? Where is she? She shoved Dad and walked away looking for her dog. I turned to my right and to see a girl looking suspicious. Dad noticed that too. She noticed us and I was about to talk to her, but some guy stopped me. Hey, this is no time to ogle pretty girls, son, he said. Then the girl walked away and the guy continued, you lookin' to get yourself eaten alive by zombies. That caught our attention and it made our eyes widened. What? Dad said, confused as well. Zombies? I said in my mind. Did you say zombies? Dad said, thought he heard it wrong. Take a look out there. We turned towards the entrance to see them. If those ain't zombies, what would you call them? He said rhetorically. Eyes ball all white, too pale, groans, mess up faces, and looking like they want to eat us alive. Oh yeah, they're zombies all right. I replied. I couldn't believe it with my own eyes. There are zombies in Wilamette, and they are real. There's been more and more of them since last night. Now they're all that's out there. The man said. My dad was about to take pictures of this, but the guy elbows my dad. Looks at the bright side. Zombies are stupid and slow. The guy spits and wipes it from his mouth. We should be safe in here. I had thoughts about that, and Dad was still taking pictures. Alright, feel like making yourselves useful, take a look around the mall, bring anything we could use for the barricade back here. The guy explained. I nodded and Dad was still taking pictures. I sigh and said, come on, Dad, let's go, you can take pictures later. He sighs and nodded. Yeah, okay. We checked to find more stuff to help with the barricade. We see people either in panic or relaxed. The old lady with glasses was still looking for her dog. I had an idea. Dad, I have an idea. What? Dad asked, confused. If the barricade doesn't last for long, I need to get the others to the security room, and the old lady's dog, I'll help her find it, okay? I said. Dad thought about it. Okay, tell the others and find that lady's dog, I'll see what I can find. Dad agreed. I gave him a thumbs up. I went to the others about the security room and went to the lady's dog. Meanwhile, Frank POV. Izuku was going to help with the people and the old lady's dog. That kid always wants to help, but I can't blame him. I found some stuff to barricade the door, and then I was about to pick some up when I noticed an old man with a cane on the other side of the entrance plaza. I took a pictures of the guy and he noticed me. You, stop right there, do you any idea what he done? The old guy said, he tries to attack with his cane, but luckily by instinct I dodged it. Why did you summon me to this place? What are you planning? He kept asking questions. Will you calm down? I don't even know what you're talking about. I was confused and a little bit curious. He grunts and walks away. I was still confused on what he meant by that. Hey, Dad. I heard Izuku's voice and I turned to see him. I told to everyone to security room and I'm still looking for the dog. He nodded and I patted his shoulder. Good job, son. He gave me a smile and thumbs up. We heard a noise and were confused on wondering what that sounds was. Nobody pavs. The people were going up to security room while old lady was looking for the dog along with Izuku's help. She found her dog, Madonna, but it was outside with the zombies. So she did something that no one expected her to do. She let zombies in. 3-4-38 to 5-13. I mean, can you blame her? She just wanted to save her dog, but she could have had a plan at least. Izuku 𝗵𝘃𝗲. We saw it with own eyes and the zombies were inside the mall. Luckily, the survivors were in the security room but me and Dad were still here. What in the hell are you two doing? We looked up to see a man with a yellow shirt. Run, quick move, get over here, you two move this way, quick to the stairs move. He pointed to left side, well my left. The zombies were everywhere. We got out our guns and started shooting our way though. I shoot one in the leg, one tried to grab me but I shoved him and shot it in the face. My dad was shooting through too. We managed to get through, got to the stairs and Dad was looking back to see the zombies. Dad, come on. I yelled out, making him follow behind me. I don't know who that man, I guess we are about to find out. The mall was now filled with zombies. I'm starting to hate malls. Izuku 𝗵𝘃𝗲. Security room. My dad and I were running towards the security room. The mall was infested with zombies. Man, that sounded crazy when I said out loud. When we arrived at the security room, we saw the same guy that had the same yellow shirt. He is bald and black. An old maintenance guy has a beard, also black, but he has a little hair in gray color. A blonde woman with glasses, wearing a suit, and she's white. The maintenance guy closed the door behind us. Thanks, whoever you are, I said, shaking with the yellow shirt guy hand. No problem. We stopped shaking hands. So, are the others safe? I asked. He nodded. Good, so what now? He rubbed his neck and nodded at maintenance guy. He sealed the door with a blowtorch. Wait, are there others inside the mall? I asked. Could be, but as long those things are in the mall, we better not use this door. He said, making a point. The yellow shirt guy leans against the air duct. We were confused and curious about this. What are you doing? Dad asked. He looked at us. The air ducts, they'll get us back into the mall and apparently those aren't smart enough, so they won't be a factor, the guy with the yellow shirt said. Smart, I said. He nodded. Thanks, kid. He opened the air duct door. Wait a minute, you want to get back in there, what for? Dad asked. He looked through the vents and went inside, leaving Dad and me without answers. I'm gonna go check on the survivors and see if there are others that are in the mall, I said, patting his back. He gave me a thumbs up. I gave a small smile at the blonde woman and nodded. She did the same. I walked away to check on the others and to see if there are others in the mall. Frank paused. Izuku walked away to do his business, and sometimes he never changes, but I can blame him. The blonde girl was staring at me, for some reason, and asked, Nice cameras, are you guys photographers? She asked, leaning against the wall. As a matter we are, I'm Frank West, photojournalist, and that's my son you saw, Izuku. I said to her. She nodded. Can you show me some pictures, Frank? She asked. Sure. I gave her my camera, and she scrolls through my camera looking through the pictures I took. You seem know you're doing, who are guys anyway? I asked, but she ignored my question and her eyes widened to see the old man I took picture of at the entrance plaza. I took that near the entrance. She looked with a surprised face. Did that guy do something? I asked and was curious. She looked down and went back to her normal expression. No, thanks for showing me though, she said, giving my camera back, and Izuku shows up. Hey, I just spotted 2 survivors on the rooftop, Izuku said, telling us. You want to help, Dad? I scoffed. Do you need to ask? I said sarcastically. He playfully rolled his eyes and smiled. Good luck, you two, the girl said, about to walk away. Hey, we're not done talking yet. Just who are you guys? I asked once again. She turned and smiled. I'm Jesse. The man you saw earlier is Brad. That's all I'm authorized to tell you, she said, explaining her and other guy's name. I was dumbfounded and Izuku chuckled softly. She opened the door, leaving me and Izuku with no answer. Come on, Dad, let's go get the survivors, Izuku said, staying focused. I nodded. The old maintenance guy, Otis, he gave us transceivers and a map of the mall. We went to the air ducts to get the survivors. Hey, anybody around? I heard man's voice. I heard from over there. Come on. Izuku pointed in the direction where to go. We saw a man wearing a red polo shirt with glasses, Jeff. He's looking for his wife and we went to help find her. We did. They hugged each other. It kinda reminded me and Inko, and I really miss her. I told them it was time move and we brought to security room. My son wants to stand behind to check on the monitors to make sure if there are any people need saving. Izuku 𝗵𝘃𝗲. I was watching the monitors with Jesse while my dad went ahead to find out something or someone who needs help. I noticed a big guy in a red shirt and a green cap. Looks there's someone there, I'll go. I said about to walk away, then Jesse gasps and I was concerned. What is it? I looked to what she looking at. My eyes widened to Brad getting attacked by someone and we needed act fast. Come on, we gotta help him. I said to Jesse. Okay, just let me grab my gun. She said. I nodded. After that, we went to go help Brad. The survivor is gonna have to wait. Jesse told me it was at the food court. We get to him in time. Warehouse Frank's 𝗵𝘃𝗲. I was through the warehouse and I came across a door which leads to Paradise Plaza. I was walking towards it when I heard a noise and it could mean one thing. Zombies, huh? Had a feeling you show up. I said. I pulled my gun but I didn't waste bullets so I grabbed fire extinguisher. I leaned against the wall to get ready and when I turned the corner, I was about to hit Jesse and Izuku. Jesse fell on top of Izuku while pointing their guns at me. Oh God, it's you too. I put the fire extinguisher and went to them up. Sorry, Dad, we thought you were zombie. Izuku said, putting his gun down. I nodded as it meant, same here. Jesse sighs in relief. Are you alright? He looked at Jesse and she nodded. Yes, I'm fine. She said as they got up. Brad was attacked. I located him on the monitor. She groaned and was about to fall but Izuku caught her. I don't know if you keep going, Jesse, you have sprained knee. Izuku said with worry. She shook her head. No, I've got to help Brad or he's done for. I sighed and nodded. Alright, fine, give me your gun. They looked at me like, what? Come on, I'm the reason you just got hurt, let me help. No, I can't let a civilian do that, that's against regulations. Jesse said. Izuku raised an eyebrow. Yeah, well, I don't think they had zombie-invested malls in mind when they wrote regulations, kid, and besides you're letting Izuku carrying a gun. She looked at him and he nodded. He's not wrong about that. Izuku said, do you know how to use this? Jesse asked. Kinda, I covered wars, you know. Izuku chuckled and nodded. Yeah, I remember you saying that at the dinner table. Izuku jokes. I rolled my eyes and smiled. Jesse gave me her gun. I took the bullet case and gave back her gun. I only needed the bullets. I locked in my gun, turned off the safety, and put in my pocket. Look, after I'm though helping you and I gonna have a nice little chat. She was about leave but Izuku spoke up. She stopped, looked at me. Do you need help walking back? I raised an eyebrow at him. She sighed and shook her head. No, you have to go, Brad doesn't have much time, I'll be fine. Jesse said, smiling. Izuku gave her a thumbs up and she limped away. We saw this and we went to save Brad. Food court Izuku 𝗵𝘃𝗲. We cut through Paradise Plaza and meet some zombies. We either ignore them or fought them. We used melee weapons because we want to waste ammo and we went outside. The food court is where Brad was holed up. That's where we went and zombies were also in the park. After going through, we reached the food court. We walked in and it felt too quiet for a moment until someone was shooting at us. We got behind cover. My dad peeked to see who was shooting. All we know is it's from above and we can barely see the guy's face. We turned to the other side to Brad shooting while in cover. We went to him and took cover with him as we got out guns. Your girlfriend sent us find you. Dad jokes. I sigh and shook my head. The guy shoot at us. His eyes widened like, what? The guy is still shooting at us and we needed a plan fast. Look, we need a plan on how to deal with this guy. Any ideas? I asked, looking at Brad. He sighs and nodded. Alright, I'll cover you two from here. You need to stick to the shadows. Try to get close to the target. Brad explained the plan. I nodded. And we're supposed to do when we get close. Dad asked. Brad fires and the guy fires back. I'm pretty sure he wants us to shoot the guy, Dad. I said. Brad nodded. But if you can't do that, keep him from busy dodging your bullets and stay out of trouble. Brad gives Dad handgun ammo. Are you up to it? I nodded and Dad sighs. I'm a lot better with a camera, but yeah, I'll give it a shot. Dad said. Alright, next time he reloads. Brad stopped for a second while the guy was still shooting. I'll lay down suppressing fire. I'm counting on you too. Make your way over there. He points at the stairs from the left side. We were ready. 1, 2, 3. Brad begins to fire as we run to the left side. Third POV. Carlito, Keys, Izuku and Frank began to run to the left side of the stairs to get close to the guy. The guy was about to shoot, but Izuku fired first, causing him to back into cover. They were inside the food court. The guy spotted them while they were in cover and Izuku had an idea. Dad distracted him. I'ma get this guy. Izuku said. What? No, that's too dangerous. He was cut off by the guy shooting at them. Dad, come on, you have to let me do this. I'll be fine. I've got you guys to watch my back, please. Izuku put his on his shoulder. Frank sighed and nodded. All right, on the count of 3. Izuku nodded. 3. Frank fires at him while Izuku was to the crates and climbing to where the guy was. Izuku hid behind cover while the guy firing at Frank and Brad. Izuku got an angle and fired 2 rounds, one on his shoulder and his submachine gun, which he busted. It's over, man, give up. The guy didn't listen and he ran. Izuku gave him a warning shot, but he just kept running. Izuku fired at him, but he dodged the bullets and he was bleeding on his shoulder. End of third POVs. End music. Izuku POVs. I went back down to the others and the guy ran above the food stores. He got a rope and which made him go up. My dad pointed his gun up store, but it was too late. He was gone. We put our guns away and we catch our breath. He got away. Who was anyway? Dad asked. Brad was pointing his gun up also. I don't know. Brad answered, having no clue. Wasn't he the guy from the rooftop, Dad? I just had to ask. How do you know that? Dad eyes widened. I raised an eyebrow. Oh right, I forgot that's your skill. I nodded. What skill? Brad asked. Don't worry about it. I answered. Brad puts his gun away and catches his breath. Well, thanks for your help. The name's Brad. He held out his hand for a handshake. I'm Frank West, photojournalist. Dad answered, not taking his hand, but I took it. You're welcome. Name's Izuku West. He nodded and I pulled away from his hand. So you want to explain to us what you are doing here, Brad? I crossed my arms and Dad nodded. Sorry, I've got nothing to tell you. Brad lied, but I didn't want to push, so I just sighed. Look, I don't know what Jesse told you to, but as far as I'm concerned, we're through working together. I was listening and my dad was scrolling through his camera while listening. So you both cover your zombie story and leave the rest to us. He was about to walk away. You guys are looking for someone here, aren't ya? Dad pulls out the old man. I saw the entrance plaza. Why him? Flashback. Entrance plaza. I was done telling the survivors and trying to help the old lady find her dog. I went to go tell my dad. I stopped running when I saw my dad getting yelled at by a old man. I wasn't gonna bring because it was his business. What the hell was that old man's problem? I thought flashback and we leads us here. I figured it wasn't big deal, but Brad looked back and he got interested. Who is that? Where did you take that? Brad was about grabbed his camera, but he wouldn't let have it. You help me, I help you. Dad said, begging Brad for an answer. He's right, we gonna help each other, so tell us. I agreed. Demon, you two are hell of journalists, aren't you? Brad said, pointing at us. A hothead, underhanded hotshot paparazzi and a smart, stubborn and kind photographer with nothing better to do than to invade people's privacy. He made a point, but it didn't bother us. We try, you got point. Dad said, staring at me. Will you help us, Brad? I asked. He looked at me, thought about it, and nodded. You win, boys, let's work together. Brad accepted. He thought he was getting the camera, but he still needed to answer who he and Jesse are. Jesse and I are DHS agents, and yes, we're looking for the man in that picture. My eyes widened by the DHS being involved in this. Dad scoffed. You're with Homeland Security. Is that guy a terrorist or something? Dad asked. Brad stood there silently. I nodded at Dad and he gave the camera. My dad took that picture near the entrance plaza. I said, right near the front door. Dad finished for me. The entrance plaza, you're sure? Brad asked to make sure it was true. We nodded. He gave Dad his camera back. He went to check it out with me following him, but Dad stopped us by saying, "Hey, so do I have your permission to cover this story or not?" He had to ask. Brad was annoyed. I chuckled and we walked towards the entrance plaza. Which is ironic because I was gonna head there anyway. Entrance plaza Izuku Midoriya. We were passing through 𝗳𝗵𝗃𝗃 plaza. There's some zombies but we went through them as usual. We need more ammo. Maybe after this I could go the gun store find some ammo. After passing through we reached the entrance plaza. There was gate blocking it but Brad found the controls and the gate raised. We went under the gate and to find the old man. When we found him in the bookstore, everybody loves books, Brad's talking with him wasn't going well. "Sir, if you just kindly come with us, we can wrap this whole thing up." Brad tried reason with him. "No, I'm not leaving until you can guarantee me safe passage through these," Dr. Barnaby said. "Well, this is going well." I sarcastically said. Dad sighed and nodded. Brad told him to open the gate. Kindly, but he refused to open it and decided to stay to there. Brad called out his name but Dr. Barnaby was further away. "Well, what happened?" Dad asked playing dumb, and Brad walked back to us. "You can't just arrest him." He turned down my offer to protect him, said he isn't going anywhere until I can guarantee a secure route out of here. Brad explained the situation. I sighed and shook my head. "Well, what now?" I asked. "Jessie has a direct line to HQ. The first thing we need to do is to call for backup." Brad and Dad were walking away. "You guys go on ahead," I said. They turned to me. "Why?" they asked. I sighed and pointed at in the closet store. "Me and Jessie spotted a survivor in that store. I'll get him and bring him back to the safe house," I explained. Dad shook his head. "Izuku, you can't do that alone," Dad said with worry. "Dad, trust me, you need to do your own thing and He cut me off. "Brad, go on ahead without us. We'll meet back at the security room," Dad said. He nodded and walked away. I sighed and shook my head as I gave in. "All right, I guess we'll both go." We went to get the survivor. Plus, even my dad wants to shove this case. He still wants to help people. Just like me and Mom, except we were not in a zombie apocalypse when it happened. Security room Izuku Midoriya. I came back to the security room with a survivor named Bill. Otis told me that Brad came by with my dad, Frank. I opened the yellow door and saw Brad talking to Jessie. He told me that they were discussing transportation for Dr. Barnaby. I laid on the bed to listen. So that's what Dr. Barnaby said, huh?" Jessie said. "The old coot's not dumb. He wants us to call for help. We got a line out or what?" Brad asked. Jessie checks the laptop to contact HQ but couldn't get a signal. "Ugh, the signal being blocked. I can't even contact HQ on the emergency line." Jessie said. "So, if we want to get our hands on Dr. Barnaby, we're gonna have to secure a way out of here ourselves. All right, we've got to deal with the situation we've been handed. The boneheads back to HQ might be working something too." Brad said about to leave. "There's a helicopter coming," Dad said. Brad looked at him. 3 days from now at noon it's our ride." Dad explained the transportation. "Is your ride reliable?" Brad asked. I nodded and smiled. "Yup, that's the plan of getting us out of here," I replied. "All right then, I'll see to it that the DHS picks up the charter fee. Can we take Dr. Barnaby as well?" "Sure, as long as you tell us what's going on." Dad questioned him. I chuckled and smiled. "Okay, I tell you what you want to know later." Brad replied. I nodded. "He's right. Right now we have other things to do like helping people or getting ammo," I said. Dad gave me a thumbs up. "Exactly, if we're going hold for 3 days we'll need supplies," Brad said. I nodded. "We need water, blankets, and the like," I replied. "We'll do what we can to help." Dad nodded. "We'll get Dr. Barnaby tomorrow morning," Brad said and told Jessie. "I want you to keep an eye on the monitors." He left to get supplies. I looked at the monitors, then Dad left to look the mall to find supplies as well. "You know, when we came here to find a scoop, we weren't expecting this," I said. Jessie sighs and nodded. "Yeah, I wasn't expecting this either. Poor people, they don't deserve this." I sigh and ask, "So do you have a quirk, Jessie?" She shook her head. No, I don't need a quirk to be a DHS agent because I have something called dash skills. Exactly. I laughed and smiled. You're not only funny and smart but you're also cute. I smiled, then I noticed Jessie blushing. Man, I thought my past worse than this. I said, making Jessie confused. What do you mean by that? She asked. Before I could answer her, I noticed survivors barricading themselves in 𝗵𝘃𝗃𝗄𝗃 plaza. I told Jessie I was going to help them and she told me to be careful and good luck. 𝗬𝗂𝗵𝗃𝗄𝗃. Izuku went to help the survivors and I was watching the monitors. He really has an act for saving people and not to he's handsome. Wait, what am I thinking? I just met him, and besides I don't think I'm his type. You're also cute. I remember him saying that and smiled too. I shook it off and went to duty. I may be a rookie but I should focus on main objective now. However, what did he had it worse. What did he mean by that? 𝗬𝗂𝗵𝗃𝗄𝗃. I was passing through the warehouse when I noticed some zombies inside. I guess I just have passed through, but all of a sudden I heard buzzing noise. I turned to see insect flying at me. I got a good look and it was a wasp. It comes at me again. Hey! I yelled as I sway the wasp and it went to the floor. I stomp on the wasp to end its suffering. I looked confused when I saw the zombies acting funny, like they were trying a new dance or a seizure if they get those. I heard explosion behind me and the zombie's head was gone. Then I looked around me when all the zombies' heads blew up. What the hell is wrong with these things? They started acting weird when I dash, I said in my head. Then I realized when I put the squashed wasp and zombies together. How strange, but I could worry about this later. Right now the survivors. 𝗵𝘃𝗃𝗄𝗃 plaza. I made it through the zombies to get here. I only my knife so I didn't waste bullets. I saw the barricade in Weber's garments. I broke through it, finding the survivors. The guy in red shirt got pissed. Damn it, just what I need, another crazy person harassing me. The guy said as he ran towards me and started swing his bat. I moved to right to dodge. He swung it again and I grabbed it, then I threw him over my shoulder. What the hell is wrong with you? I yelled, pissed off, and the guy was tried already. Just leave me alone, you son of a bitch. The guy said. I sigh with annoyance. Alright, look, I'm not trying to kill you, okay? I am here to take you to the security room. It's safe there and I would have told you if you didn't try to kill me. I glared at him, his eyes widened. Oh, sorry, my bad. Anyway, can you still take us? He asked. I sighed and nodded. Yeah, come on. I took the guys to the safe house. Their names were Bert and Aaron. On the way over here, I got call about a lady in the jewelry store at 𝗵𝘃𝗃𝗄𝗃 plaza. The woman crying her eyes out, and when I asked what the problem was, she grabbed me and yelled at my face, Grace, where's my baby? I want my baby back. Grace, Grace, Grace. Then I slowly put her down on the ground. I told her to relax and I'll help her find her child, but it was too late and apparently the baby got eaten in front of her. Forget sad, this is just F up. Having a child dying right in front your eyes is worse. I couldn't leave here, so I told her to come with me and I'll take you to the security room. Leah, that was the woman's name. Her leg was injured, so I took her to the safe house by carrying her. I brought her back to the safe house. Then I went to talk to Jessie. Hey, I'm back. Did Dad and Brad show up? I asked. Jessie shook her head. No, they're still searching for supplies. Jessie replied. Well, I'm going to the gun store to find ammunition. Do you want some water? I said. No thanks, I'm good. Jessie said. Okay, see you later. Don't worry, I'll be careful. I smiled and gave her the thumbs up. I left the safe house and to the gun store. I go. I saw Dad coming though the vent door and I told him I was going the gun store. Alright, but let me go you. Dad said. I shrugged. Okay. Leisure Park, third POVs. Boss battles start. Izuku and Frank were going through the park when all of a sudden, they hear a car horn. They turn to see three guys who liked convicts. Judging their orange jumpsuits, the guy with the bat swung at them, but they jumped to the side and landed on the floor. The convicts laughed as Frank and Izuku stood there shocked and scared. You missed, loser. Turk guy said. Get your aim right, brother. Then the driver tapped the bat guy and pointed at the couple as they started running away. Alright, looks like we found our next contestants. The bat said, ready his bat. I'm going to take out that dude and snatch his old lady. The driver said. He started to drive while they laughed. The couple were running for their lives. The guy looked back as the convicts were behind them. The bat guy swung his baseball bat at the guy with glasses, killing him, causing his girlfriend to scream. Frank and Izuku stood shocked by this horror sight, but they couldn't stand there do nothing. They looked at each other and had looks of determination. "You save the woman, I got the jumpsuits, dudes," Izuku said. Frank gave him a thumbs up. Izuku went to deal the convicts while Frank went help the woman. Izuku went to distracted them by yelling at them. "Hey, why don't swing that bat at me again, 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗄𝗧?" Izuku taunted the bat guy. It made the bat guy pissed. The other convicts went, "Why that little GT, that bastardo?" He yelled at the driver. He drove his car towards Izuku. He smirked and then run up towards the wall of the clock tower and backflip over the car. The car crashed into it and the car couldn't start because the engine was busted. Izuku got out his knife and threw it at the back of the turret guy's head, killing him in an instant. "Ah!" The other convicts screamed, sawing their turret guy dead, while Izuku walked towards them, got out of the dead guy's head and glared at the two. "You mother dash!" The bat guy swung at his head but grabbed it and threw it away while still glaring. Izuku stared at the two with a deadly look with saying one word: "Run." The convicts got out of the car and started to run. He pushed the dead guy, pushed him off the turret and started to use it, firing it at the convicts. Izuku gritted his teeth because he was pissed and needed to let out steam. The driver was shot dead while the other convict was still limping, and when Izuku was about to shoot, a zombie approached, making his way towards him. The convict begged Izuku for help. The zombie caught up to the convict and started to eat him while Izuku walked away. End boss battle 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗄𝗏. I finished up the convicts and called Dad on the transceiver. "Dad, I finished up here, how's the survivor?" I asked. "She's safe, good job, son." Dad responded. I chuckled. "Never mess with a West." I smirked. Dad chuckled. "I'm going to the gun store, I'll meet you there." "Yeah, you too." Dad responded. I ran towards the gun store, which is in North Plaza. North Plaza, hunting shack. I arrived at the gun shop and was waiting for Dad. Then he arrived and we went in. We standing in the middle of conversation. We wanted guns and ammo, but the owners refused to hand over anything. Before I could speak up, the guy in the black shirt spoke up. "Look, mister, if we're gonna fight these zombies, we need guns." The guy said. The owner gave a warning shot, causing us to flinch. "Stay back," he said, reloading his gun. "I trust them demon zombies about as far I can throw 'em, but I trust people even less," he said, pointing his gun at us. I don't blame the owner for having trust, but I don't have a choice to do something if things get ugly. "Don't shoot, let's just talk this over." The guy tried reasoning with the owner. "You can talk to my 12 gauge, don't get no closer or I'll blow y'all to kingdom come." The owner threatened us. The black shirt guy made the first step and I tried to stop him, but he wouldn't listen and he got shot, blasted out of the door. Me and Dad had a face of a worry as we looked back to the owner. "Now, goddammit, I warned you." The owner reloaded his gun. "A situation like this, I can't afford to trust nobody." He points his gun and is about to shoot. Boss battle start, third POV. Frank and Izuku went behind store display for cover. One, the owner of the shop shoot his shotgun at Izuku 3 times, then he laughed and drinks wine. The owner now shoots at Frank 3 times. They heard of the shotgun out of bullets. Izuku has 1 shot, so he ran towards the owner and slammed on the glass counter, causing the owner to wince in pain. 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗏 kid," he said, dropping his gun. "Come on now, what are you crazy?" He tries finding his balance. "Hey, calm down, there's no dash." Izuku tries reasoning with him. You want guns so bad that y'all are willing kill for them, let me go please." The owner go out of the crying scared. "Hey, wait/get back here." Frank and Izuku said he didn't listen. The owner went out of the shop and got tackled by a zombie. The zombie was the same person he shot and he must have came as a zombie. The owner was about to get eaten. One, new dash. He stopped screaming because the zombie was shot dead and he turned to see Izuku holding a gun, which he saw smoke coming out of it. The owner pushed the zombie off of him and passed out. Frank and Izuku brought him so he wouldn't get eaten and they patched him up. End boss battle Izuku POV. I only had 1 bullet left and I made it count. I shot the zombie in the head and the owner. He tried to kill us, but he had his reasons, and trust issues is very common even though zombies are fiction, but after this not anymore. The owner wakes up and groaned, touching his head. You alright? I asked, concerned. Yeah, I'm alright. The owner replied, and then he looked at me. You saved me, why? He asked. One, well, even though you did try to kill us, we still need you help us. Can you do that? I asked. He sighs and thought about it. Sure, I could do that. He agreed, thank you. I offered to pick up. My name is Izuku and this is my dad, Frank West. He accepted it and stood up. My name is Cletus and you're welcome. We shook on it and got some ammo. I pay for it even though it's the zombie apocalypse, and if I saved Cletus's life doesn't mean it's good. I bought about 3 cases of handgun ammo each. Although I did get an assault rifle and my dad's shotgun come with bullets. I didn't pay for it. We told Cletus we'll come by later if we need something. I heard a ring from my transceiver and it from Otis. Izuku, Frank, there's something with the Space Rider in Wonderland Plaza, you better check it out. Otis responded. Plus, we're on it. I responded. Space ride out of control, well not for long. Wonderland Plaza Izuku Midoriya. Me and Dad went to check out that Space Rider ride. It wasn't stopping, it kept going and going. I spoke Otis on the transceiver, said there's a clown nearby here. We went to stop the machine, but I need an access card to stop it. I was about to stop the ride without the card, but all of a sudden I heard a crazy laugh. Me and Dad turned to see a clown juggling chainsaws while laughing. Demon Otis was right. Our eyes widened by this crazy person. Stay away from there, Gramps and boy. Adam said, still laughing, and did a stance. Huh. We stood there shocked. Everyone used to laugh at me, giggles. I was walking punchline. Adam laughed and started to whines. But not anymore, he giggles creepily. The clown was moving a little close as he holding the chainsaws. When the zombies everyone died. He started to laugh like a maniac and juggling his chainsaws again. That's why I decided to give all the happy people a lift on this fun ride. The clown said as we turned to see 2 dolls covered in blood, and I thought to myself, this clown is really crazily stupid. I won't let you stop the ride, Gramps and boy. If the ride stops, then the zombies come back and that won't be any fun at all. He continues to laugh as we look at him like he is crazy, and man he is. Boss battle start. Third POV. Start Ost. Frank and Izuku ran out of the Space Rider to better space while Adam, the clown's name, was chasing us. They shoot their guns at Adam, but he blocks them with his chainsaws. He jumps in the air and drag rolls, then swings chainsaws at them. They dodged the saws by going to the sides. They had to come with a plan fast. Suddenly, Adam starts blowing a balloon, which got Izuku annoyed, and he shot the balloon, making him cough. He ran up to Adam and punched in the face really hard. Take that. Izuku taunted him, knocking him out. He shot him in the chest to make sure he's dead. 3. Come on, let's go. Izuku said. Dad nodded. Last time I blow a balloon. Frank thought in worry. End Ost ended boss battle Izuku Midoriya. We went back to stop the Space Rider machine, and when we were about to, we heard a noise behind us. We turned to see Adam with his stupid smile and pointed our guns at him. He started to laugh as he went down and chainsaws cut his insides up. Dad covered his mouth from throwing up. I looked away, trying to look away from this scene. One Adam was laughing crazy while dying slowly and painfully. Now, there's something you don't see every day. I said. Dad nodded, and I looked to the floor and saw an access card. I picked it up and started to stop the machine. Then an old maintenance guy riding the spaceship. He got off and we told him that we would take him to the security room. The maintenance guy told us that there's a shortcut to there. We followed him as he led us to the shortcut. As we passed by, we saw the zombies with red eyes, which I noticed for a while, which for some reason they became stronger, faster, and probably dangerous. Security room 𝗬𝗵𝗲. I was through the security room when I saw Frank and Izuku fighting a clown with chainsaws. I was scared for something to happen to them, but luckily they were okay. Izuku punched him in the face and I saw him shoot him in the chest. Then I saw Izuku coming in with some blood on his fist. Hey Jesse. Izuku sighed with annoyance. Something was bugging him. What's wrong? I asked. He puts his hand on the head and sighs. Well, I just came from seeing a man getting hit with a bat by a convict. I saw a person get shot, then came back to eat the person that shot him, and I saved him. Izuku said and laughed. Which makes it worse that I'm also a little terrified by the fact I almost got sawed in half by chainsaw lovin' clown, including my dad, and then he died while laughing a manic. That's what's wrong, Jesse. Izuku explained. He took a deep breath. I'm sorry, it's just not my lucky day and I ain't the first one, so I don't want to be a negative Nancy. I nodded and gave a small smile. It's alright, this is hard to deal with and everything out there. I said. He got up and crossed his arms, standing by me. Thanks. He smiled at me and I nodded. So let's see if there are any survivors. I smiled of his caring for others. We looked at the monitors to find survivors. One guy in the North Plaza, and 2 guys in the Wonderland Plaza. I got Wonderland Plaza, and my dad's got North Plaza. He gave me a thumbs up and I nodded. He left to save the 2 survivors. Izuku is real serious when it comes with people in danger, and that punch he did on the clown was so hot. I mean, it was a good shot. Geez, get it together, Jessica. Wonderland Plaza. Izuku paused. I radioed my dad to go help the other guy in the North Plaza. I arrived at Wonderland Plaza by taking the shortcut. The 2 survivors were held up in 𝗧𝗵𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗃. I went inside the bookstore and one guy spoke up. Shinji. The Japanese man said the other guy's name. Oh no, here comes another one. Shinji said. They started to run in circles and screaming, whoa, relax, I'm not one of them. I mean, do I look pale to you? I responded in Japanese. They looked at me and realized it. Oh, I'm sorry about that. I didn't realize you were human because I panicked considering it's the apocalypse. The guy said. I nodded. Don't worry about it. Listen, I'm here to take you to security room, if you just follow me. I said to them. By the way, I'm Izuku West. I know your name is Shinji. He nodded and I looked at the other guy. And what's yours? I asked. Right, my name is Yu Tanaka. It's pleasure meet you, West-san. You said, bowing down. Just Izuku. Fine, thanks. I'm here to escort you both to the security room. Follow me. I said. They nodded. But before we go, I have one question. Of all places, why go to Wilamette? I asked, just curious, you size. That's what I said, but he just had to talk me into it. You pointed at Shinji. His friend was offended. It's not my fault you're so gullible. Shinji said. I mentally facepalmed. Shut up, you said we have a good time, not get eaten alive. Oh well, excuse me for being a good friend. I sigh with annoyance. Look guys, it doesn't matter how you got here. Right now you guys need to come with me. I said to them, sorry, lead the way. You apologized. Shinji nodded, agreeing. I brought them back to the safe house. Security room. I told them where to go to relax. On the way over here my dad told me that he just arrived at the security room with the survivor. I opened the door to see Dad sitting on the bench bed. Hey, guys, what did I miss? I asked, yawning. Nothing much. Dad said. I nodded. I felt a little sleepy and I guess could use some rest. You should probably get some rest, Izuku. Jessie said. I looked at her and nodded. Yeah, but if you get some rest too, wake me up, okay? I asked. Jessie sighs and nodded. Okay, that way we could take turns. She replied. I went to get some, then I heard Brad's voice. Yo, Frank, give a hand here. Dad went to help Brad when I got some rest. Third pause. Frank went to give Brad a hand and he picked up a soda, but Brad grabs his arm. What gives? Frank asked. Brad grabs the soda. Considering the helicopter and all, we have to work together, but that doesn't mean we can tell you and your son everything, and everything we do tell you both can't necessarily be printed. Brad explained. Yes, so? He said, confused. So, I just want you to understand the situation. Well, we're up to our necks in zombies. Yeah, I think I appreciate the situation just fine. Brad chuckled slightly. Zombies, I still can't believe all this, it seems so unreal. Brad said as he tossed soda to Frank. Brad carries the box and Frank drinks his soda. You all right there? Frank asked. Yeah, I got it. Brad said. Frank gave him a thumbs up. He enters the monitor room to find Jessie on the monitors and Izuku asleep. He sets the box down. You should rest a while, Brad. Jessie said. Brad could see she was tired as well. You go ahead and catch some sleep first. We can SW 4 hours, okay? Jessie nodded. She got up and went to rest. West Residence. Izuku Midoriya. I opened my eyes to find myself in my home. I had so many questions. How did I get here? Wasn't I just in Wilamette? I searched find mom or dad. I yelled out for someone and nobody was around. I looked in the living room to find my mom standing there. Mom. I called her out. She turned slowly and I saw her eyes white, looking pale. My eyes widened to see this when I noticed to see my dad dead on the floor. My mom was zombie. I felt sad and mom came towards me while I screamed at the top of my lungs. Ah. Security room. I opened my eyes to find myself in the security room while out of breath and rubbed my head groaning. A nightmare, lucky me, I said sarcastically. I turned to see Jessie next to me sleeping. I smiled at a peeling face. Anyway, I stand up and saw Brad watching the monitors. Couldn't sleep well, huh? Brad asked. I sighed and went over Jessie, preventing her from waking up. How long was she asleep? I asked, stretching. I told her we SW'd in 4 hours. Brad said, and he looked at his watch. It's been over 3 hours. I nodded. Listen, Brad, even though I'm still a kid to you, I'm also human and sometimes we are given a choice and my choice is to help out any way I can and not fail. I know it's not easy but I do my best, even if I don't have a quirk. I explained, rubbing my knuckles together. Something else on your mind? Brad asked. I sighed and nodded. Okay, when I was 4 diagnosed as a quirkless. I explained everything to Brad, how my dad, best friend, and twin sister treated me. He was shocked and angry by the look on his face. Frank basically raised me, even weren't raised by flesh and blood, he is still my true dad. I can't believe they did that to you and your flesh and blood dad did that to your mom, unbelievable. Brad said. Before I could speak, Dad walked in when he noticed me awake. Nice to know that you're awake. Dad said. I gave him the thumbs up. Want a chip? He hands out the bag. I accept one. Don't worry, I don't care about what happened into the past, its future matters, nothing more, nothing less. We always gotta keep moving forward and I am not gonna let that slow me down. I said seriously. He took a deep breath. I know it's a lot to take in, Brad, but this is something he has to deal with on his own or with at least a loved one. Dad said. Brad rubs his head and nodded. All right, sorry Izuku. Brad apologized. I shook my head. No, it's all right, you wanted an explanation. I said. Jessie starts to wake up and started to watch the monitors while Brad went to rest. Jessie Midoriya. I heard Izuku woke up by the sound of his breathing and then I see eyes open. He had a look that he had a nightmare. I pretended to be asleep. He got off the bed and probably was talking to Brad. I heard his whole story. He suffered that much just because he was different. I also heard Frank coming in. I know Izuku acts like it's no big deal, but I don't know. Maybe it's not good to deal with the past, but you always gotta face it. Izuku is a great person, but I shouldn't listen to his personal life unless tells me about it. 1/3 Midoriya. Izuku, Frank, Brad and Jessie waited to go get Dr. Barnaby when the time was right. Time, 6 a.m. Jessie got up from her seat when she saw Dr. Barnaby getting dragged by someone. Izuku and Frank got a closer look. That can't be good. Frank said, concerned. No, it's not, so what's going on anyway? Izuku asked, looking at Jessie. Before this whole thing started, someone called the professor and told him to come to this mall. Jessie answered. Jack the line, did ya? Frank said jokingly. Izuku rolled his eyes and shook his head. So this guy was the caller, him? Izuku asked. Jessie nodded. Do you think they've got something to do with the zombies? Izuku asked. Jessie shrugged. They're the reason we came here. Brad said as he loads his handgun. And if he gets away with Dr. Barnaby, none of our questions will be answered. Brad ran to deal with the situation. Izuku and Frank looked at each other and nodded, which meant, let's go. Be careful you guys, and same goes for Brad. Jessie said. Izuku and Frank left to help Brad. You be careful too, Izuku. Jessie thought. Meanwhile in Nevada. Inko has been calling Frank more than 3 times, including Izuku. She got no answer and she left messages. Nothing. Why aren't you answering, boys? Inko said in her mind. Inko couldn't get an answer, but all she could do was wait. Entrance Plaza 1 narrators POV Frank and Izuku followed Brad to help with the guy who kidnapped Dr. Barnaby. They entered the entrance plaza looking around to find Brad or the terrorist. Suddenly, they get pushed on the ground by Brad. Izuku, Brad. They heard a gunshot and hid behind cover. Brad, don't be daydreaming out here. They get shot at again. Izuku, where's that coming from? Brad, someone's shooting from the floor above. Izuku got his gun out as the unknown guy was shooting at them with his sniper rifle. He stopped shooting and whispered, "Unknown man. 𝗵𝘃𝗵𝗲 he kissed his necklace and aimed his gun." Frank peeked over with his camera to see the professor hanging above a bunch of zombies. Frank, hey, it's the professor. Izuku looked and then behind them was a zombie before he could shoot. Brad warned them. Brad, look out. The sniper almost shot Frank but shot the zombie instead and blood was spilled on them. Izuku muttered, "Great Brad. If we don't do something, the professor is gonna end up zombie chow." Izuku, what's the plan? Brad peeked over and told them. Brad, I'm going for it, you two concentrate on staying alive, got it? Izuku nodded, Frank gave him the thumbs up and Brad was off. Moments later Izuku, Frank, and Brad went to take down the sniper. The sniper almost had them. Izuku was shooting while he was running away and Brad was ahead of him. Frank and Izuku followed Brad to catch the guy. He threw away his sniper and got out his handgun. They shoot their guns at each other. The guy was shot in the shoulder and Brad was shot in leg. Frank and Izuku shoot their guns at the person. Izuku reloaded his gun but the guy got away and the two went to check on injured Brad. Izuku/Frank. Brad. He puts pressure on the wound while grunting in pain. Brad, I'll be fine, just take care of the professor, go. They nodded and they ran off to save the professor. After that, they brought him to the top floor and put him down. Frank, he's unconscious, but alive. Izuku, old man's tougher than I thought. Brad, pain. 𝗵𝗃𝗄𝗃. Frank and Izuku helped him up. Izuku, take it easy, Brad, here let me carry you. Brad, no, I can walk. Izuku, you have an injured leg, okay? Let me help you just this once, Brad. Brad, sighs. All right. Izuku carries Brad while Frank carries the professor as they went back to the security room. Security room 𝗳𝗵𝗃𝗄𝗃. After the two went to go help, I waited for them to come right back. They have been gone for a while, I hope they're okay. I heard the door and saw Izuku opening the door. Izuku, Jesse, we have a problem. Jesse. Wah, I turned to see Brad had been shot. Jesse, Brad, oh my god. I ran to help him with Izuku's help. I turned to see Frank carrying the professor as he puts him to the back of the room. Izuku POV. After the Jesse and I finished healing up Brad, she went to check on the professor. I stand against the lockers looking at Brad and waiting for him to wake up. Jesse came with some news about the professor. Jesse, the sedative's taken effect, the professor won't be waking up anytime soon. Izuku, okay, and for Brad. Jesse checked on his fever and told us. Jesse, I managed to stop the bleeding. But he's running a fever, he needs medicine. My dad got up from his chair. Izuku, a fever. Dad turned to Jesse. Frank, medicine, 𝗲𝗏 size, well, where can we find the medicine? Jesse, there's a supermarket in the North Plaza and there should be a pharmacy there. Izuku smiled. Alright, thanks Jess. I turned to Dad. Izuku, come on Dad, time for a medicine run. Dad nodded and I stopped walking when I told him. Izuku, wait, go on ahead, I'll meet you there. Frank, alright. He ran ahead and I turned to Jesse. Izuku, hey Jesse. Jesse, yes, Izuku. Izuku, I could have prevented this. Jesse confused, what do you mean? Izuku, where I came from I was known as quirkless, a nobody and a person who shouldn't be a hero because you're useless. Jesse, Izuku, you aren't useless, you didn't know this was gonna happen, let's not forget that you saved people, not to mention take down a clown with chainsaws, but you can't save everyone and you can't change what can be done. Izuku, you know, when I first met Frank, he told me he saved my mom with no quirk and I guess I always looked up to him, unlike my real dad, because even though he wants to get a story, he wants to prevent this outbreak from happening from other places, and don't worry. I'll make sure he doesn't add you guys in, okay? Jesse, sure, thanks and be careful. Izuku, don't worry I will, I'm not alone remember. Like that I went to the supermarket. Supermarket narrators POV Frank and Izuku made it to the supermarket. As they were about to enter the pharmacy, they heard a noise of something rolling. Izuku whispered, "What was that?" Frank shrugged and they went to check it out. They checked one of the aisles and they walked down it. The noise were heard again and they turned to see nothing behind them. They kept walking. Frank and Izuku peeked over to see if someone or something was there. Izuku whispered, "This apocalypse is making us crazy." Frank sighed and shrugged. "Frank, I don't know, come on boy." They walked back to the door but stopped to see a can rolling on the floor. They looked at each other and turned behind them. Their eyes widened to see a shopping manager with crazy customized shopping cart. His name tag was named Steven and he was carrying a familiar girl in the shopping cart. "Steven, this is my store." Izuku whined in pain from yelling. Izuku, well, that was loud. Steven walks closer with the shopping as the two began to back up. "Steven, you two came vandalized my store." Steven yelled, "Not on my watch." Izuku sighs with annoyance. Izuku, "We're just looking for medicine." "Okay, someone's been hurt." Steven, "Hurt?" Izuku sarcastically, "Yes, hurt yes." But Frank sighs, "Are you trying pissed him off more?" Izuku, "Does he have to yell more?" Steven, "Eh." They turned to his as he grabbed the girl's head. "Steven, that's just what this bitch said when she came to vandalize my store." They looked at unconscious girl. "Steven, I don't take kindly to vandalism. Ducks behind cart, I won't allow it." Steven slowly stands up as he said, "Steven, listen to me and listen good partners." Steven stands up quickly. Steven yelled, "I don't allow vandalism in my SO." Their eyes widened and jaws opened. Izuku had his gun out and they went to cover. Boss battle music. Izuku, "I'm gonna shut you up, permanently." Izuku shoot at the guy but he ducks down and Frank gets into cover also. Steven gets out his shotgun and shoot at Izuku. "Steven, get out of my store." Izuku took a deep breath and walked away from cover. Steven pushed his shopping cart forward to look around for the guys and there was no one around. He turned the cart and pushed forward. "Steven, where are you? You better touched my one." Before he could finish his sentence, he got kicked by Izuku. Steven was ground and so was the cart. Steven groaned in pain. Izuku glaring, "Killing us is one thing we are used to, but kidnapping a girl, that's where I draw the line." He picked him up and started beating him up. His fists were all bloody and so was his shirt. Steven groaned in pain and he was pushed. Barley standing. End boss music. Izuku paused. I looked at the store manager as he was on his last breath and he went to cash register while he barely standing. Steven upset, my store. I seen Steven beginning to whine as he tapped the cash register. Steven sad, "Who will run my store when I'm gone? My store. My food, my sales, my customers." He looks at the sky and with his hand on his heart. Steven, "Have a nice day." Like that he was gone but then came right back. Steven, "Clean up register 6. Now he was dead and I took a deep breath. I looked at my hands covered in blood. Izuku, "We need to get out of this place before we lose our minds like how I just did." Dad nodded and we went to check on the girl. When we got closer we noticed she looked familiar. She was the girl from the entrance plaza. Dad helped her and as her head hurts. Izuku, "Hey, take it easy, you just got your head hurt by some crazy." I was pushed back by the girl and I sigh. Izuku, "Relax, we sorta of know each other. Frank, we saw you at the entrance yesterday, you need medicine too." Izuku smiled, "He's right, it's better if we work together." Unknown girl, "I don't need any help, you people don't know a thing, you're the ones who caused this nightmare, you ruined Santa Cabeza and started all this." She sighs with exhaustion. We looked confused and before I could speak, she walked away. They sighed and was still confused. I looked down to see a pharmacy key and picked it up. Izuku, sighs, "Let's just go get the medicine." Frank, "Right, we went to go get the medicine for Brad. We got a transceiver call from Otis saying that there are two people who are lovers and they are in Wonderland Plaza. We went to go help them and took the shortcut to the Paradise Plaza. I carried the injured guy and we went to the security room. After bringing them back to the security room, we took the medicine and brought the medicine for Jesse." Izuku, "Here, sorry it took so long. Jesse, no worried, thanks you two for bringing the medicine." Frank, "No problem." I smiled and nodded. Jessie, I'm gonna patch him up, just wait until I give you the details. Izuku, okay, I'm gonna get something to drink, do you guys want anything? Frank, chips. Jessie, just some water. Izuku, I was to get some supplies, then put them in my backpack, and I got a call from Otis saying that there's a guy carrying a machete in the 𝗧𝗵𝗃 saloon. I went to deal with it. 𝗧𝗵𝗃 saloon narrator's POV. As Izuku enters the store, he looks up to see a bunch of zombies with their heads cut off and tied to the ceiling. Izuku thoughts, who the hell did this? The scene showed a person's shoes and then the person spoke. Name and rank soldier. Izuku turned to see a man covered in BLD while holding a machete. Machete man, you can't tell me, can you, fella? Oh yeah, he moves closer. I know why, it's because you're Viet Cong. Izuku, actually I'm not. He cuts him off. Machete man, I'm right, aren't I? You are nothing but a filthy communist. When he begins to swing his machete at Izuku, he dodged the swing. Izuku looked around for the guy, but he was nowhere to be found. Machete man voice from nowhere speaks. Machete man, you son, are gonna to tell me where the gorilla's hideout is? Izuku kept looking around as he got out his assault rifle. Machete man, by the time I'm done beating information out of you, you are gonna be begging for death to come take you away. Izuku looked around to find him and hears footsteps behind him. He turns and spotted him as swung his machete. Izuku dodges and shoots his gun. The machete guy runs out of there dodging the bullets, and Izuku shoot him in the shoulder. He reloads his gun. The machete guy jumped down an access tunnel. Izuku went up top to see where he was. As soon as Izuku spotted him, Izuku was blasting bullets and shot him in the leg. The machete guy was hiding again and Izuku was still looking. Izuku was looking to see where he was, but little did he know, he was right behind him. Izuku aims his gun but see he's bleeding out. He puts his gun away and gets out his knife. Izuku, time to see what's stronger, the knife or the machete. Machete guy smirked, I guess we'll see. Izuku, my name is Izuku, what's yours? Machete guy, Cliff. Izuku, well, Cliff, show me your full strength. They charge at each other, dueling with their knife. Izuku blocks and dodges his swings. Cliff strikes at Izuku, but he struggles to hold his machete and gets pushed back, causing him to drop his machete. Izuku swings his knife across Cliff's chest, causing him to fall off the shelf. Izuku drops down to see the Cliff's dead body. End boss music. Izuku POV. After defeating the machete man, Cliff, I looked at him to see him and turned to walk away. However, he was still kicking, barely. Cliff, you over there. I get in closer to see him get out his wallet. Cliff, here, take this. I grabbed it slowly from his hand. I see a family photo and key. I wonder what it's for. Cliff, my granddaughter, she was done in by those 𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗃 zombies. I sighs and looked down sadly. Cliff, when I heard scream I just lost it. I looked at around the room to see that and right back at him. Cliff, everything went white suddenly. I see him slowly about to die and I sigh with sympathy. Cliff, the war, it wasn't over, not for me, it never ended. Like that he was dead. I shut his eyes and looked at the family photo. Izuku thoughts, we'll be home, Mom, we promise you that. I took a deep breath and looked at the key, which has the letter N and numbers 128. It leads to the empty store next door. I ran towards it and I went to unlock the door. I found survivors and brought them back to safe house. I wonder if Jessie asked how Brad was doing. Security room narrator's POV. Izuku brought the others back to the safe house and gave Jessie water and chips. Izuku got a bottle of water myself from all that running and fighting. Jessie felt Brad's forehead to check his fever. Jessie, he's stabilized, he should be fine for now. Izuku sigh with relief. Izuku, alright, thanks. Jessie looks at the West boys concerned. Jessie, are you two alright? You have BLD on you. They looked at their shirts to see BLD as they wiped it off. Izuku, don't worry, it's not my BLD. Jessie sighs, oh good. Izuku, it was from a machete man trying to kill me, but it's not his fault. This apocalypse can drive people crazy, am I right, Dad? Frank, right, like this one time Izuku and I were fighting a supermarket manager and he had a girl in a shopping cart, so we had to save her. Jessie, girl, was she hurt? Izuku, her head was banged up by that crazy store manager and when she woke up she said. Izuku took a deep breath. Jessie looked confused. Jessie, She said what Frank? Something about 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃. Izuku, and we started all of this, what does she mean by that? Jessie. Wait, 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 I think Jessie was cut off by noise they heard from back room and Jessie opens it to find Dr. Barnaby awake. Jessie. Dr. Barnaby, you're awake Dr. Barnaby. 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, I should have known. Izuku thoughts, well, that caught his attention. Dr. Barnaby, I thought 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 was over and done with you plan to dispense justice now. Jessie tries to calm him down. Jessie, calm down, Dr. Barnaby, we're only following orders we have to protect you. Dr. Barnaby shove her away. Dr. Barnaby, protect, more like imprison. Izuku sighs and walked up to the professor. Izuku, look, you'll get protection from these guys okay, I trust them. Izuku leans down and looked at him. Izuku, but the only they're gonna protect you is to know the truth about 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, listen to her professor, I trust her and with my life. Izuku stood up and looked at Jessie as he nodded. Izuku, I'll be going now, see you later. Izuku walked out of the security room to find more survivors. Jessie smiled while blushing at Izuku's trust in her and shook it off to go back to the main goal. Dr. Barnaby coughs and begins to stand up. Dr. Barnaby, all right, I'll tell you. He looks behind Jessie, then she looks behind to see Frank and she closes the door leaving Frank upset. Frank, fine, I'll just get my information somewhere else, thank you very much. Frank looks at the monitors and said Frank, maybe if I can track down that woman again. Meanwhile with Izuku just saved 2 twin sisters and dished them back to the safe house. Then when he was done he went back to see who else was alive. Then he went to save a guy hiding in 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃's hardware store. Otis said that he was crying and upset about something. Izuku, hey buddy. No, get back. Izuku, hey relax I'm trying to get you somewhere safe. Help me, I'm too young to die. Izuku sighs and scratches his head. Izuku, listen, man what's your name? Gordon to Izuku, well, Gordon let me tell you might you're the only one afraid but so I am. Gordon, you are. Izuku, yeah, I learned to conquer it because I have people I care about and I want to get back to go back to them so you're gonna have to be brave and not get scared because you're human and sometimes we humans but we fight to protect the people we care about and I'm asking you to be brave, Gordon because I'm afraid of failing. Gordon took a deep breath and nodded. Gordon, okay, I'll follow you. They nodded and went back to the safe house. Izuku thought, even though I don't have a quirk, I still one thing my dad taught me he covered wars. You know North Plaza Izuku POV. You see, I went to get some more ammo from the gun shop and I just came out of the supermarket because a big guy named Richard wanted food and we needed a lot of it. So I put food and drinks in my backpack. After that, I went to get some ammo from Cletus. I went back to the safe house to bring the stuff and then I got call from Otis about a cop. He said she's keeping a bunch of girls hostages. I went to check it out. Narrator's POV. Izuku enters the lovely fashion house store and saw girls held being handcuffed. A girl in the chair while the cop, Joe, was standing beside her. The minute she saw Izuku, she said this. Joe, what have we here? Izuku thought, what the hell is wrong with this lady? Joe, looks like you've lured another man in here, you little where? I didn't. Kay with a pleading look. Kay, please help me. Joe, let's see just how shameless you are. You dirty little skank. Joe. The cop pulls out a nightstick. Kay scared. No, not again, help me. Joe rubs the nightstick on Kay's leg. Izuku, hey officer. Joe ignored him. Izuku. Hello officer. Joe did it again and Izuku sighs. Izuku, hey lady, how about you stop being a creep and let these girls go? Joe, shut your pie hole. Joe glares at Izuku while pointing her nightstick at him. Joe, if you try to interfere with official police business, I'll start with you before I get to her. Joe points her stick at her then begins to laugh creepily. It made Izuku uncomfortable and angry. Boss battle music. Izuku, you're creepy but is dead. Izuku begins to shoot at her, leaving 2 holes on her shoulders. Joe, you little runt. Izuku joked. Well, you are bigger than me. Joe got annoyed and chased Izuku. Izuku ran to the wall and did a flip over Joe. Joe swings her nightstick, Izuku grabs it and he lifts her up. Izuku slams her on the ground then he stomps her head and kicks her. Izuku, I've met some dirty cops in my days. Izuku grabbed her handcuff keys while she groaned in pain. Izuku, and you are the biggest. He walked away and she stood up. Joe, no, I ain't done. Joe gets shot by Izuku. End boss music. Joe begins to die slowly and on the ground again. Joe, it hurts the pain, I'm gonna die. Izuku thoughts, dramatic much. Joe, can't believe a worthless prick like you did me in. Joe begins groaning and air humping as she dies, then she dies. Izuku muttered, creep. Izuku went to go free the girls and the one tied to the chair. Izuku freed Kei first. Kei, I can't believe that woman, I'm glad she's dead. Izuku, yeah, come on, let's take you girls back to the security room. Kei, thank you, Izuku. Izuku West. Izuku went to freeze the another girls. He brings them back to safe house. Security room. Izuku pause. After I brought the girls back to security room, I see Jessie in the chair and something was bothering her. Izuku, what's wrong, Jessie? Jessie sighs and looked at me. Jessie, Izuku, I was awake when you woke up and you told Brad about your past. Izuku, yeah, it happens. Jessie, I can't believe that happened to you and your mom. I nodded and then I smiled. Izuku, look, it doesn't matter, Jessie, because it already happened, nothing can be done, and I'm already happy with just us and Frank. Izuku, I believe in life we have to make our family and friends proud and be for them no matter what. I looked at Jessie and sighs. Izuku, Jessie, what I had was a nightmare and it was my mom is a zombie and my dad was dead, but that's just a nightmare. Izuku, I'm afraid of never seeing her and I can't have that, but I don't want people to die either, which is why I'm counting on you guys to figure this out, even Dad. Jessie, you really trust us? Izuku smiled. Yeah, is that a bad thing? Jessie, no, not really, just why? Izuku smiled. Why not? Jessie was shocked and I chuckled. Izuku, from that face, you're kinda cute. Jessie blushed, shut up. I laughed and smiled. I pull out the supplies from my backpack and then I went to look at the monitors to see more survivors and guys in raincoats. Izuku, Jessie, do you know where my dad is? Jessie, he went out to get supplies from the supermarket also. Izuku, alright, thanks Jess. I nodded and ran out of security room. I called Dad on the transceiver. Izuku, Dad, are you close to Wonderland Plaza? Frank radio, yeah, and I just came out of the supermarket. Izuku, good, there's 2 people hanging on the big bunny with zombies below them, it ain't hard to miss. Frank radio, 2 people hanging on a bunny, now I've seen everything. Izuku, yeah, anyway go do it. Okay Frank radio, already on it, but wait, how am I gonna kill the zombies? Izuku, if you see a red dot on the zombie's neck, that's a wasp, put it in a jar and squish it near them. Frank radio, a wasp? Izuku, don't question it. Do it. Dad went to save the survivors from Wonderland Plaza. Meanwhile I went to take care of business. Paradise Plaza. Narrators pause. Izuku went to check out the people raincoats. When he arrived, he saw a woman tied up and bunch of people in raincoats. The guy with the red-eye robe, Sean, came out with a sword. Sean, behold. The end of the world is upon us. Death itself has overflowed upon this world, defiling us all. The girl screams as Izuku watches them. He gets out his gun to get ready for what comes next. Sean, the only path to the salvation of the soul is the purging of the tainted BLD. The followers of Sean put the woman in the box and closed it. Izuku thoughts, I don't think so. Sean readied his sword, but it was shoved away from Izuku as he shot at the sword. His eyes turned to him along with others. Sean, a non-believer in our midst. Izuku, back away from the box. Old man Sean ignored Izuku and continued running gibberish as he picked up the sword. Sean, if we are to achieve salvation, his BLD must flow. Sean points his sword and points at him. Sean, he must be purged. Spill his BLD. The BLD of the heretic. Izuku, enough of this stupid cult 𝗧𝗵𝗲. Izuku began firing his gun at guy's head. Sean ran away from this. After Izuku finished them off, he freed the woman from the box and untied her. Security room. Frank POV. I took Izuku's advice and he was right, but how did he know? I guess I asked him when I come back. As soon as I came back there, he was coming out of the vent with another survivor. I went to talk to him. Frank, where did you find her? Izuku, some cult leader and his members tried to do ritual on her, but I put a stop to it. Frank, okay, hey, I have a question. Izuku, shoot Frank, how did you find out about the wasp? Izuku, well, during the time zombies were surrounding the warehouse, a wasp appeared and I swing my hand at it to make it go away. Izuku, when I noticed a red dot on the zombie's neck, I decided to see what it was, so I killed the zombie and captured the wasp for emergencies. Frank, impressive Izuku, so how's your source search going? Frank, I guess we'll find out. 2 hours later, we've been waiting for 2 hours for the woman to show up and nothing has happened. Izuku, Dad, look. Izuku pointed at the supermarket in the North Plaza and saw the same girl we saw in the entrance. She came off her motorcycle and went into the store. Izuku, come on, let's get some answers, Dad. Frank, right? Like that, we went out to catch with the woman to find some answers. North Plaza near supermarket. Izuku POV, we saw the girl come out of the supermarket, then she noticed us and we tried to talk to her. Frank, hey Izuku, wait a minute. She wouldn't listen, so she got on her motorcycle and started it up. Boss battle music. Izuku, oh 𝗧𝗵𝗲, she drove her motorcycle at us. We rolled out of the way and I tried to reason with her. Izuku, look, we just wanna. She got out her gun, and I started running for cover, next to Dad. I looked to see her and she still was aiming her at us. Izuku, I'm gonna distract her. Frank, wait Izuku, I got out of cover and she started shooting at me. Dad began running behind her and he got on her bike. She drives to get him off. I got my gun out and aimed at the tires, but I needed to time it right. In a split second, I studied the timing and shot at one of her tires. End boss battle music. The bike begins to fail, Dad got off it and the girl rolled over. She was about to run away. Frank, wait, we gonna talk to you. The girl begins to kick him away and kicked him in Dad in the ball. I cringed at that. Izuku, okay, you know what? She begins to run away and I grabbed her leg and then I pulled her. Dad held her down. Izuku, look, we just want to talk, alright, so please tell us the truth. What do you know about all this? The girl, are you two reporters? We nodded and the girl sighed. The girl, let go. Izuku, scoffed, so you can run? No way. The girl, I won't run, so let go, your friend is hurting Izumi. Izuku, Dad. Dad lets her go and she rubs her wrists. Frank, hey, sometimes I have to be aggressive, especially when he comes with you, or never mind. Izuku confused, my what? Dad nervously chuckled and I thought about it and realized what he meant by that. Izuku, okay, never mind indeed. Dad nodded and I sighed while being disturbed. The girl, how much do you two know? Have you called for help? Izuku, look, we asked you our questions. You do that and we answer your questions. Frank, starting with what is 𝗵𝗃𝗃? And how is it connected to all of this? My arms waiting for an answer. The girl, the zombies were created by you, not us. Our eyes widened and we were confused. The girl, that's what Carlito wants you all to know. Frank/Izuku. The girl, if you want to interview someone, talk to Carlito, he has all the answers. Izuku, scoffed, wait, are you talking about the guy who shot at us with a sniper rifle and injured my friend? Isabella stood there in silence answering my question. Frank, take us to him. The girl, no, not now, he's injured and in no mood to talk to anyone. I sighed and shook my head. Izuku, well, you may not trust us, but we want to know the truth about 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃 and why is it so important? She stood there silent. Izuku, please miss, we need to know the truth. The girl took a deep breath and nodded. The girl, I bring him to you once he recovered. Izuku, how? The girl, I can persuade him, I'm his little sister after all. Izuku, Dad. He looked at me and back at the girl. Frank, why should we trust you to bring to us? The girl, the zombies are a message from Carlito, he wanted people to know. Izuku, your brother sure has a funny of showing a message. Frank whispered. Izuku. I sighed and nodded. Izuku, sorry, I'm just on edge. Frank, Izuku, where do you want to meet and when? The girl, tonight at midnight, wait for us in the store next to the camera shop in the North Plaza. The girl stands up and begins to walk away. Izuku, wait. She stopped and turned to us. Izuku smiled. My name is Izuku and this is my dad, Frank West. Izuku, what's yours? The girl, I'm Isabella, 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, and I promise I'll come back. We nodded and she walked away. We took a deep breath and looked at each other. Izuku, let's go back to the safe house and see if our friends found anything. I nodded and went to the safe house. Izuku thoughts. I really hope Isabella could convince him. The zombies by us, did the Americans really do that? Make zombies, but why? I guess we'll get some answers from either the Keys or Barnaby, probably both. Security room. Izuku's POV. After the talk with Isabella, we went back to the security room to see if Brad and Jesse got anything out of Dr. Barnaby. We entered the monitor room and saw Dr. Barnaby with the DHS agents. Izuku, hey, Brad, glad you're doing well. Brad. Yeah, thanks Frank. You learn anything new on this end? I stood against the wall and Jesse began to speak. Jesse, Santa Cabeza is a stronghold of the Central American drag trade. Brad. The professor here seems to think that the zombies are a byproduct of these drags. I sigh and was dumbfounded. Izuku, so let me get something straight. Someone turned people into zombies with some type of drag. One Frank. For what would make the dead come to life accomplish? Dr. Barnaby, they're terrorists, don't try to explain their actions with logic. Dr. Barnaby explained. I analyzed the drag in question and I've reported my findings to the government. He coughs and continues explaining. Dr. Barnaby, that must be what set them off. He coughed again while speaking. Dr. Barnaby, they didn't want to be exposed. He started coughing and stood up. I got confused because this story didn't add up to what Isabella said. Flashback. Isabella, you ruined Santa Cabeza and started all this. Isabella, the zombies were created by you, not us. Flashback. And I don't think the old man is telling the whole truth. Dr. Barnaby lying. I've told you everything I know, now get me out of here. He did a small cough and looked at us. Dr. Barnaby annoyed. Call for help and kill those freaks. He walks to the back of the door while coughing. I sigh and shook my head. Izuku, look, I don't trust that old guy. He knows something and it ain't no zombie drag, it's something else. Frank, yeah, but what could it be and what's up with cough? Brad, old coot probably getting sick. Izuku, maybe, but just in case keep your guard up and for now on we'll wait for the helicopter to show up. Jesse, he's right, we can bring him back to HQ for questioning. Izuku, I'll look for more survivors, let me know if you see anything. Frank, I'll go with you. Jesse, actually Frank? We turned to Jesse to see what she had to say. Jesse, let me go with you guys to find survivors. Dad and I looked at each other. Izuku, I'm cool with that. Frank, Izuku. Izuku, we could use all the help we can get. Frank sighs, what do you think, Brad? Brad sighs and nodded. Brad, okay, but she can't run in heels. I laughed and shook my head. Izuku, alright, but she'll need a weapon though. Brad gives a handgun and we walk towards the vent. Brad, good luck. We went out of the safe house to look for more survivors. Hours later we got Jesse into some comfortable shoes and we continued searching for more survivors. I'm glad Jesse is here, but I wonder why would she come with us? I guess I'll ask later. Then we got a radio call from Brad saying there are 4 survivors in the entrance plaza, and 3 people shooting at a guy. They have snipers. Izuku, oh no. Frank sighs, not another one. Jesse, huh, what do you mean? Izuku, there are people in this apocalypse turning them into crazy people. Frank, come on, we'll show you. She nodded and we went to the entrance plaza. Entrance plaza. Third POVs. The 3 were searching around for the survivors while one guy was aiming his sniper rifle at Izuku. Looks like 72 yards. I can blow his head off clear from here. Can I check a shot, Dad? The dad, getting a headshot from here's no big deal, Jack. The father looks to his side to see his other son. The dad, think you can pull it off, Thomas? The boy, Thomas, looked scared and confused. Thomas, but Daddy, he ain't no zombie, he just a kid and so are those people. The dad, Thomas. We doing this to survive, you know that. Jack, using a firearm for self-defense is our God-given right as Americans, Thomas. The dad, come on Thomas, shoot. Thomas took some deep breaths. The dad, shoot him. Jack, shoot him, Thomas. The dad, I said shoot him. Thomas readies his gun while taking some deep breaths. The dad, shoot him, Thomas, now what you waiting for? Do it. Thomas took a deep breath and started shooting at Izuku. But little did they know, Izuku was already ahead of them. He went behind cover and told the others. Izuku, flank them, I'll get right behind them. Izuku reloaded his gun, then he began to run. Frank, Izuku screw it. Frank started shooting at them while Izuku started running. The sniper family was focused Frank and Jessie when they were shooting at them. Thomas was looking around for Izuku but he was nowhere to be found. Thomas, Daddy. He didn't hear him because he was busy shooting. Thomas, Daddy. The dad didn't hear again and Tommy took a deep breath and spoke up. Thomas, Dad, a gunshot was heard and a bullet wound appeared on Thomas's forehead. Jack and Thomas looked to see Thomas's dead body. Dad/Jack, Thomas. They turned to see Izuku with his gun aimed and smoke coming out of it. Izuku innocently smiled. Hello there. The two started to run, and Izuku started shooting at two. They got shot in the legs and groaned in pain. Izuku reloaded his gun again. Izuku evilly smiled. Sayonara. The two were shot dead and Izuku took a deep breath. He nervously laughed and pitched his nose. Izuku, you overdid it, didn't you, Izuku? Yes, you did. Izuku was done and went back to the others. Izuku, the snipers are finished, Jessie. I can't believe they did that to other people. Izuku, these aren't the first ones, Jessie. Like I said, some people tend to be, or should I say, psychopaths. Jessie, this apocalypse, it's driving people crazy. I patted her shoulder and smiled. Izuku, hey, look, I'm still sane and I'm not going anywhere. Jessie, but what you did, Izuku, I did it to protect the people I care for. You hear me, 𝗬𝗃𝗵𝗃, I care about you and I won't let anything happen to you. Jessie's eyes widened while blushing, then smiled and Izuku smiled. Frank did a flirt whistle. Izuku rolled his eyes and gave his dad a blank face. Izuku, really, Dad? Frank smirked. Izuku, sighs, whatever, let's just save the survivors. Frank/Jessie, right/on it. Izuku, Frank and Jessie went to get the survivors. After that, they brought them back to the security room. After that, Oda spoke to Izuku about Ronald's appetite. So Izuku gave him some chips he had in his backpack. Then he told his dad, Frank, that they had to be somewhere. Jessie, hey Izuku. Izuku, yeah Jessie. He kissed his cheek and Izuku's eyes widened, slightly blushed. Jessie, thanks. Izuku smiled. No worries, she nodded and walked away to look at the monitors. Frank, yeah, no worries. Izuku scoffed, oh come on old man. Hours later, Izuku POV. Time passed by, we got ammo and food to bring in my backpack or back to the safe house. My dad and I were on our way to the place we're going to meet up with Isabella and we noticed a man with a shotgun while wearing a tux. I told my dad I would talk to Isabella and you can take the survivor. Frank, are you sure? Izuku, don't worry, I'll handle it. Frank, sighs, okay, just make sure to record it. I nodded and he took Kindle, the survivor, to the security room. I went inside the store near the camera shop. I looked at my watch to see what took so long, then I heard a noise. Izuku thoughts, what's that noise? The noise got closer. I stood up to see what it was and Isabella came bursting doors while the zombie attacked her. She screamed by being tackled by the zombie and she pushed it with a kick. Izuku, get behind me. I grabbed her and shielded her. Then I shot the zombie in the head twice. I took a quick breather. I look at Isabella on the ground with her shoulder bleeding. Izuku, were you bitten? She was in tears and shook her head. Isabella tears. No, it was Carlito. I tried to talk him into coming, but it was no good. My eyes widened by a shot to the shoulder and it brought back flashbacks. Isabella, he doesn't trust anyone. I was pissed about someone treating their sister like that. Izuku angry, so the baka shot you? Isabella crying. He didn't mean to, he was upset. I helped her up while I was still pissed for something he did. Isabella, I don't know what he will do next. Her eyes begin to close and begins to fall, so I caught her. Izuku Japanese, Carlito, you idiot. I carried her on my back and decided to bring her back to the security room. Then Frank showed up and his eyes widened. Frank, Izuku, what happened to her? I gave a glaring look just thinking about it. Izuku, Carlito. My dad jumped a little and we ran to the security room while listening to an announcement. Carlito voice, Isabella, I am so sorry, I never meant to shoot you. Now, I've gone and hurt you, please forgive me, please come back to me, I know you can hear me, Isabella. I'm sorry you had to get wrapped up in all this, but you know I'm right. Come back to me. Isabella, there are still things you need to do. I cannot do this without you, please. I stopped walking and began to speak up loud. Izuku, listen, Carlito, I don't care if you are shot by mistake. You are an idiot for doing that in the first place, and if you think she's coming back to you in open arms, Isabella groaned as she opened a little bit. I looked at her sympathetic and back at Carlito voice to whatever it's coming from. Izuku, I'll kill you before that happened, you idiot. I took deep breaths and began to run forward to the security room. Frank's POV. Man, Izuku is pissed, can't say I blame him, when it comes to treating their siblings with disrespect. Well, you know how he was treated. I just hope his feelings don't get the best of him, but he can't help who he is, and who am I to judge? Isabella's POV. I began to pass out of being shot by my brother, and I begin to wake up by Izuku's voice. He snapped at my brother even though it was an accident. His voice sounded like it was personal. Why did he yell at my brother like that? Was there a reason it was an accident? Security room. Izuku's POV. We managed to make it back to the security room. Going through the vent was difficult, don't ask how we got through it. Anyway, my dad opened the yellow door and Brad spotted me holding Isabella. Brad, who is that? Is she hurt? I put her on the bed softly. Izuku, unfortunately, Jessie, can you? Jessie, already on it. Jessie took over to take care of Isabella. Frank, you're looking at the bad guy's sister. Jessie's eyes widened. Bad guy? The one who caused all this? Izuku, pretty much. Her idiot brother started the zombie outbreak. We took a breather and explained everything. Minutes later we explained to them the situation. Jessie and I were checking to see if Isabella woke up. Jessie managed to stop the bleeding. Brad was having trouble processing this. Brad, his sister. What the hell is going here? I mean, does this have anything to do with the announcement earlier? Dad pulled Brad to the side and begins to speak. Frank, we don't know more than you at this point, okay? But he shot her, I can tell you that. Izuku? Oh, and just for record, the same guy that shot you in the leg? Yeah, that's the same guy. Dad nodded with his arms crossed, and Brad was surprised to hear this. Now he was intrigued. Brad, what's he after? What's his ultimate goal? Frank, I don't know. Izuku, we're just as clueless as you, and according to her, his plan isn't over. Frank, not yet. I took a deep breath and scratched my head. Brad, fine. He points at her. Consider her DHS custody. We'll question her when she wakes up. My dad sighs and 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗧. I chuckled and shook my head. Jessie looked at me confused. Jessie, what's so funny? Izuku, you know. Chuckled. I know what he did to Isabella was an accident, but at the same time, he could have yelled at her or just a little slap, but shooting someone in the shoulder, that takes the cake. I stretch and groaned. Jessie sighs and shook my head. Jessie, what now? Izuku, I need to keep an eye on Dr. Barnaby. He knows more than he's letting on. Brad shook his head. Brad, no, we have everything we need from him. Izuku, he has more answers and I'm gonna find out what it is besides. I looked at Isabella and remembered what she said. Izuku, this feels personal somehow. I opened the door and found Dr. Barnaby as he turned around. I closed the door behind me. Plus Izuku, hey, Doc, we need to talk. Security room. Minutes later. Jessie's POV. It was only a couple minutes when Izuku brought in this girl. He said this girl's brother is the one who caused this. She was shot by her own brother. I couldn't believe it, but Izuku was pissed just by sound in his voice. Speaking of Izuku, he came out of the room with his talk with Dr. Barnaby and he said he didn't want to talk until help arrived. The girl started to wake up and Izuku gave her water. I stood by Izuku to listen to her. Izuku, well, Brad, say what you want to say. He nodded and puts his hands on the chair. Brad, what is your name? The girl looked at Izuku and he nodded while crossing his arms. The girl, Isabella 𝗬𝗲𝗍𝗍. Brad began to sit down on the chair. Brad, well, Isabella, this is an emergency, so we'll skip with the formalities and cut to the chase. Consider this an official interrogation. Tell me everything that you know. Jessie, Izuku mentioned that this is our fault. What did you mean by that? Isabella sighs and looked at Brad. Isabella, fine, why all of this is your fault. Isabella explained, there was no drag trade in Santa Cabeza. Just an American research facility. They were doing research on some sort of parasitic insect. Like a wasp. A wasp that turns living things into zombies. Izuku shocked. Wait, a wasp. He looked at Frank and he nodded while crossing his arms as well. Brad couldn't believe it, but I feel like she's telling the truth. Isabella? Yes, and if don't believe me, just ask the man who was in charge of that research. The head of the 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗄𝗧 Livestock Research Facility, Dr. Barnaby. Our eyes widened with confusion, and before I could say something we heard a noise back room. Brad. Izuku muttered, "The hell?" Frank. A bang was heard from the door and Dr. Barnaby bursts through it. I began to scream and fall on the floor. Izuku/Brad, Jesse. Izuku catches me and puts me behind him as we all look at Dr. Barnaby with a crazy look in his eyes. He looks at Isabella and she looked shocked. Isabella, it started. He's turning. Brad gets his out and Izuku shakes his head to not shoot. Dr. Barnaby begins charge at us and Izuku kicked him to the wall. Izuku, don't even think about it. He eventually passed out and Izuku took a deep breath. Frank checked on him from a safe distance. Izuku looked at me with worry. Izuku, you okay? Jesse blushed. Yeah, I'm fine. He nodded. My heart skipped a beat there. Was I just falling for him even though we just met on day one? Frank walked back towards us and then we heard a noise. We looked to see Dr. Barnaby acting crazy as he laid on the floor. Izuku whispered, "Brad and Jesse, get out your guns just in case." We nodded and so we did. He got closer to Dr. Barnaby. "Dr. Barnaby, I am a zombie." After that, he coughed and Izuku along with Frank bent down to ask him something. Izuku started to record what he could get with his camera. "Frank, tell us the truth, Doc, were you conducting experiments with zombies?" He's coughing badly and grin at the two. Dr. Barnaby, "Zombies." Yes, Izuku looked back at us along with Frank. Isabella was right, but why would they do that? Dr. Barnaby, we were conducting experiments to reduce the costs of breeding. We accidentally made zombie livestock. He begins to cough again and Izuku sighs. Izuku, so that's how it is, huh? The government involved in this, you used people from 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗄𝗧 as experiments and made up that drag trade bullshit. Dr. Barnaby, what do you know? Frank jumped back a little and Izuku just stared with a scoff. Izuku, do you need asked? Dr. Barnaby, we were trying to mass-produce cattle. Do you have any idea how much meat Americans consume in a single day? Dr. Barnaby's cough was getting very bad. I see Izuku looking back at us with an angry look. Dr. Barnaby, that research was absolutely necessary. Izuku sighs and shook his head. I couldn't believe it. I didn't expect to hear this. The doctor's cough has gotten worse. Dr. Barnaby, I haven't done anything wrong. The doctor starts to shake crazily and he was eventually dead. I put my hand on my mouth and began to tear up. Izuku puts his camera away and checks on me. Izuku, I know I didn't expect to hear this either. I mean, I knew it was bad, but I didn't think it was this bad. Frank aims his camera to see Dr. Barnaby's dead body. Security room narrator's POV. Frank records Dr. Barnaby's dead body and Izuku checking on Jesse by comforting her. Brad was smiling at this moment and Isabella spoke up. Isabella, one day in my village the people turned into zombies, those demon wasps, they escaped from the lab. Frank zooms in his camera and Izuku's angry starts to boil up. Isabella was looking sad just telling the story. Isabella tears up a little. Isabella, it wasn't long before they got to work. The zombies spread, the army was called and they killed everyone. A noise was heard and Izuku looked as Dr. Barnaby stood up slowly behind Frank. He got out his knife while glaring at him. Izuku angry. He began to run past Frank, then stabbed him in the forehead and pushed him to the floor. Izuku, bstrd. Considering he was already dead, he got on top of him and stabbed him repeatedly. Izuku screamed at top of the lungs. Jessie puts her hand on her mouth. Frank pulls him off and trying to calm him down. Brad, enough. Frank, Izuku, stop, he already dead. Izuku shoves him off and looked Frank with sad angry look. Izuku, how do you expect me to calm down when they did something so stupid to Isabella's village? I mean, you got her brother infecting a whole city and on the other the government using people as experiments. Who's the bad guy here? Frank, I don't know, son. Brad, it's Carlito and it's our mission to bring his plans down. Izuku, yeah, who gave that order, you or the government? Brad, damn it, Izuku. Be serious. Jessie, enough. They looked at Jessie's angry face. She took a deep breath and looked at Izuku with a serious face. Jessie, now, I know how you feel and all, but being angry and feeling sorry for Isabella isn't gonna help much. Izuku took a deep breath and nodded. Jessie then looks Brad. Jessie, and Brad, you're letting denial get the better of you because you know it's true. I mean, take a look at Izuku's past. Brad, what are you talking about? Jessie, if the government gave a SHT about quirkless people, Izuku and others would have been treating differently. Jessie rubbed her forehead and sighs. Izuku nodded and began to walk towards the door. Izuku, you're right, Jessie, I need time to cool off, and Brad, I'm sorry. Brad, it's alright, it's not your fault. Izuku nodded and looked at Isabella. Izuku, you good? Isabella, why did you act like that? Izuku, like Jessie said, you and your brother weren't the only ones treated badly. He walked out of the security room to find some survivors. Isabella thoughts, we weren't the only ones treated badly, what did he mean by that? Isabella was trying to figure it out, but she had bigger things to worry about. Brad, so the terrorism is a retaliation for a cruel government cover-up. Isabella sighs and Brad looks at Dr. Barnaby's body. Brad, sounds plausible, or it could be some serious bullshit. In either case, we have to get out of here alive if we want to find out for sure. Frank rubbed his neck and nodded. Frank, all right, in the meantime, Izuku and I will find more people out there. Brad nodded and before he could walk out. Jessie, but you both be careful. Frank, don't worry, I'll bring back your boyfriend back safe and sound. He walked out and gave Jessie a blushing face. Jessie, he's not my boyfriend. Brad chuckled and shook his head. Isabella was thinking about what Carlito's next plan is. Colby's movie land Izuku's POV. I was out the security room and didn't have to with such drama. My dad caught up to me and said he would help me. We got a call about the guys in raincoats and we went to check out. We ran past some raincoat dudes and took care of them. When we get out of here, I'm gonna need some serious help after this. We entered a theater which was not a theater anymore considering how the way it looks. We see the cult leader right in front of us as he looks at the mannequin with sword in its stomach. Sean, those who reject salvation embrace ignorance. We moved closer to find survivors tied up. What kind of thing is this guy into? The cult leader stands up while he raises his sword as he prays for salvation. He looks at us and readies his sword. Sean, now I shall return your tainted BLD to the foul earth that hast spawned you. Izuku Savior. I started shooting at him and he slices it with his sword. Boss battle music, third POV. Sean runs towards the two and jumps in the air about to slash them. They rolled out of the way and Izuku was still shooting at him. Sean, I will spill your BLD. Izuku, keep dreaming. Izuku reloaded his gun and Sean slides towards him. He slashes Izuku, but with quick reflexes, he got out his knife and block it. Izuku shoves the sword away from him. Izuku glaring, Eha. Izuku kicks him away and starts shooting at him. He was eventually dead. They took a moment to relax. End boss music. Izuku, come on dad, let's free the survivors. Frank, right? When they about free him, Sean got back up again. The two got out their guns, however Sean can barely walk. Izuku's POV. Me and dad see the cult leader barely standing as he goes to the mannequin while he's either praying or he's wounded. Sean, give me strength, definitely both. Then the cult leader stands up while saying, Sean, I beseech thee. The statue falls directly at him as the sword aims at his eye. He groans in pain and we closed my eyes to not see this, but then again this is not the worst thing we ever seen. With that, the cult leader was dead. Izuku, poor BSU Frank. He dropped something. Izuku, I'll pick it up while you free the survivors. I picked it up to see a key which probably leads to that door on left side of the theater screen. I opened it to find another. It was a blonde woman in a dress. Izuku, hello. Cheryl, hi, I can't believe this. I was supposed to do a photo shoot but no, I decided to be locked in a room. Izuku smiled. Well, not anymore. My name is Izuku West, and I'm here to take you to the security room. It's safe. Cheryl Jones. Thanks for the save, honey. After that I went to untie the other survivors and brought them back to the security room. Moments later, after I went to take the survivors to the security room, I went to the food court because Floyd the old guy obsessed with pottery wanted wine and I came drunk person. I told him help was coming and he thought I was being funny. So I left him in peace, but he told me to come right back because he knew I was serious. He drank his wine and came with me. I also grabbed a wine bottle and walked him back to security room. When I arrived, I gave Floyd a bottle of wine. Also, Otis told me that Cletus wanted me to watch the gun shop. So I went to the gun shop, but I found 3 survivors and they shot at me, but I went outside to take cover. Izuku, stop shooting. 1 Brent, wait. Then I came in the store a little bit and the guy with the bald head came up to me. Jonathan, you still breathing there, buddy? Lissa, are you alive? Izuku joked. No, I'm a pacifist. Jonathan, you've got some real ball, man. You got some business with us. Izuku, well, let's see, I just got call from my friend Otis and he told me that a friend needed me to watch this shop. Also, why are you guys here? Jonathan, this gun shop was empty and it was filled with guns and it's the safe place. Izuku, no, the security room is safe. Also, there's a helicopter coming on Friday and it's landing above the security room. Jonathan, but the security room door's sealed. Alyssa, sealed tight. A dead end. I saw it. I know what I saw. Izuku, well, you might want to get your eyes checked because you could use the vent from the rooftop of Paradise Plaza. Alyssa, sounds fishy to me. Jonathan sighs and looked at the girl. Jonathan, will you shut up for once, Alyssa? Izuku, hey, I get it, she sounds annoying but she has trust issues and I get that. I looked at Alyssa and spoke to her. Izuku, so you don't believe me? Well, what if I bring proof, then will you believe me, miss? Alyssa, I gave my dad a radio call to tell him to get a photo of the vent on the rooftop. It took a couple minutes and he brought it to us. I told Dad that I had to watch the gun shop. After minutes of watching Cletus came back. Cletus, hey, Izuku, was there any trouble? Izuku, sort of, but I took care of it. Cletus, well, since you here, I want to give something for saving me and watching my store. Izuku, oh, you don't have to that. Cletus, no, I still own you. He brings out a weapons case and got out a sword. Cletus, my gift to you. My eyes widened as I examined it and pulled it out of scabbed. It was cleaned and I had to ask Cletus something. Cletus, pretty amazing. Izuku, where did you get this? Cletus, you know I traveled a lot collecting stuff. I'm not only a gun shop owner. I put the sword away and bowed at him. Izuku, thank you, Cletus. I said my see you later and like that I was off. On my way to the safe house, I got a call from Otis about a guy with long hair and holding a Molotov cocktail. He also said he is in Wonderland Plaza. Like that, I was off to Wonderland Plaza to deal with the situation. Wonderland Plaza, third POV. The scene starts off with 2 girls holding each other because they were scared of the guy holding the Molotov cocktail, Paul. Girl, please stop. What did we ever do to you? Paul, why you do it all the time? Why you look at me and then laugh? Izuku thoughts, I'll just knocked him out. Izuku sneaks behind him, but he knocks over the can of gasoline which made Paul turn around. Paul, WWH, who's there? Izuku muttered, CRP. Paul, stay back. Stay back. Get any closer and I'll light this place up. Izuku reaches his hand out to calm him down. Paul, I suppose you came here to laugh at me too. Paul is panicking, making the girls nervous in fear. He makes the girls flinched by almost throwing the Molotov. Izuku tries to calm him down. Boss battle music. Izuku, look, just calm. He throws the Molotov at Izuku. He ducks down to dodge it and it ends up going through the glass. Paul runs out of the store and Izuku chases him. Izuku, hey, stop. Paul throws a pipe bomb on the floor. Paul, you go boom now. Izuku rolls out of the way and sighs with annoyance. He chases Paul, who is on the 2nd floor. He gets out his Molotov cocktail and begins to throw it, but Izuku quick reflexes shoots at it. Paul drops it and now his feet are on fire. Paul screamed while putting it out. Izuku charges at him and he goes over the ledge, bringing Paul with him. Izuku rolls forward and Paul groaned in pain. Izuku was a little exhausted and Paul got up slowly. Izuku, alright, listen, I'm trying not to make fun of you, I just want to talk. Paul throws another Molotov at him, but Izuku moves his body to the side. Paul goes back into store he was last in. Izuku, wait. 𝗬𝗲𝗍𝗵. He followed Paul into the store. Boss battle and Izuku's POV. I tried my best to calm down the guy. I couldn't tell if he was crazy or scared. He lights up his cocktail bottle. Paul, stay away from me. Don't come any closer. After he lights it, he laughs nervously and I sigh. Izuku, wait a minute just. He moves a step and slipped over a gasoline can. His Molotov falls on him, setting himself on fire in the pages. Izuku thoughts. Ouch, he screams in pain, and I looked around for fire extinguisher. Once I found it, I put out the flames and I sigh with relief. Izuku, please stop. I've enough people dying on me and you can't be one of them because you are letting negative emotions get the better of you. Paul, I don't know what I was thinking. I'll never do anything like that again. I took a deep breath and nodded. Izuku, okay, good, now let's start over. I'm Izuku West. Now, come with me to the security room if you cooperate with me. Paul, I'll cooperate. My arson days are over. My name is Paul, by the way. Izuku, well Paul, it's nice to meet you. After that weird conversation, I went to get the girls and brought the three of them back to the safe house. Hours later, security room, narrator POV. Izuku and Frank have been saving survivors left and right. They saved an old lady and a sick man. They've been chilling in the security room and still haven't heard anything. No help, no survivors so far. They thought maybe there were no more survivors, or maybe they were captured, or worse. Maybe both. Also, they checked the maintenance tunnels for any survivors or a way out. There were zombies like everywhere, but they rained through them. They found an access maintenance key. Izuku has been doing a run supply along with Brad and Frank. Jessie has been sleeping until she woke up to find Izuku asleep too. Izuku wakes up by sound of Carlito's message to Isabella asking to forgive him. Izuku, look, he's your brother, and yelling was uncalled for, but him shooting at you was way worse, and I know a thing or two about siblings making bad decisions. Isabella, you have a sibling. Izuku, I had a sibling, a sister. She thought using her quirk on me, along with my ex-best friend, Katsuki Bakugo, was a good idea. Also, that wasn't the worst part. Isabella, what was the worst? Izuku took a deep breath and looked at Isabella. Izuku, my real stubborn old man, Hisashi Midoriya, cheated on my mom with his secretary. The way I see it, it's probably better this way. His life is ruined not because of cheating on my mom, but because of treating me like CRP and neglected me on purpose. Isabella was in shock and felt pity towards Izuku. Isabella, Izuku, I'm Izuku. No, it's alright because I didn't end up empty-handed. I still have my friends. And Izuku looked at Jessie and smiled. Jessie was confused and curious. He cleared his throat. Izuku smiled. Well, Jessie, the person I can count on. Jessie smiled and blushed. Brad smirked and rolled his eyes. Isabella a little better of counting on Izuku. Isabella thoughts. Wow, Izuku is something else. Brad thoughts. So that's how it is, making your move, huh, son? Frank thoughts. Leave it to Izuku to say such kind words to a woman because he had some practice and he used to be a nervous wreck around women. Jessie thoughts. He really trusts me, demon. I wonder if I'm moving too fast. Carlito keys comes on the speaker again. He talks about a last resort and how it will all be over soon. Security room, Izuku's POVs. After hearing Carlito's speech, I got confused and curious along with everyone else in the room. Isabella leans against the door and looked upset like she knew something. Brad approached her. Brad, exactly what is this last resort talk all about? Isabella, Carlito said that he'd blow up the mall if he were cornered. My dad turns his chair and laughed. I sigh and shook my head with annoyance. Izuku, unbelievable. Brad, damn. We've got a regular suicide bomber on our hands. Isabella, it's worse than what you're thinking. The explosion would send parasitic larvae into the atmosphere. Our eyes widened like was Carlito that stupid to bring zombies outside the city? Well, who I'm kidding, he shot his sister. Brad, he plans to spread zombies outside of the city. Is he insane? Frank, if that bomb goes off, there'll be nowhere to run. The zombies will be everywhere. Izuku, he's right. Besides Brad, I think insane just went out the window for this guy. Brad sighs and went to near the table. I looked Isabella to ask her something. Izuku, look, we gotta stop your brother's plan. How do we do that? Isabella snapped out of it and nodded. Isabella explained, he's planning to flood the area underneath the mall with flammable gas, then set it off. If you could take care of the bombs while the gas concentration is still low, Brad, there's a chance we could stop the explosion. Brad gets his gun out and points his finger at us while heading out to get the bombs ahead of us. Brad, let's do it. Dad and I looked each other and nodded. Dad ran ahead but I stopped and looked at Jessie. Izuku, I will make it back. Jessie, you better. I smiled, then I walked up to her and kissed her on the lips. She kissed me back and we let go of each other. Plus Izuku, see you later. I ran out of security room to catch up with my dad. Jessie yelled, good luck. Maintenance tunnel. Izuku's POV. So apparently, Dad, Brad and I went to go find the bombs. Isabella told us the bombs were in the maintenance tunnel inside the gas vans. There were 5 bombs, so we went to find them. We used the white car to drive to the bombs. We found 4 so far, but Carlito had the bomb and he was driving the van. I looked at the shopping cart and told Dad to deal with the rest of the bombs while I'll handle Carlito. Frank, but Izuku, just get these bombs out of here, I got this. Frank sighs, alright, but don't get killed. I nodded and smirked as he ran to the cart. I drove to the van and had a plan. First, he'd be right behind me then and he'll lose me. Lastly, he won't know where he's looking and will I arraigned him. I knocked the van over and got out of car. Carlito gets out the van with a gun and I went to cover. Izuku, come on, I know you're pissed off at the government but you're going too far. He shoots at me but I already behind cover. Brad came running towards him while aiming his gun at him. Brad, freeze. Carlito shoots at him. Brad goes to cover next to me. Carlito gets the opportunity to run. Brad, I'm gonna go after him. You get those bombs outside, Izuku. Izuku, take this. You'll need it. He takes the ammo and runs off to deal with Carlito. I took the bomb and ran off. I also took a shopping cart and rolled it outside. Meanwhile, with Brad narrator's POV. Brad was in the storage room with Carlito. He was behind cover and shooting at him. Brad, we got rid of your bombs. This is as far as you go today. Just give up and surrender. A zombie approached behind Brad. Brad turns around and shoots him in the head. BLD was on his face and he wiped it off. He crouches down while leaning against the shelf. He checked his clip and only had a few bullets left. Brad reloads his gun and takes a deep breath as gets out of cover. He starts running towards Carlito while doing it Max Payne style. The bullet from Brad got him and Carlito's gun slides over to him. Brad points his gun while Carlito is on the ground bleeding. Brad moves in closer to him. Brad, your terrorist days are over, Carlito. You're finished. Little did he know he had one final move. He got out his knife, knocking the gun out of Brad's hand. Carlito brings his knife close to his face. Brad elbows him, letting him go. Brad gets stabbed in the back by him. Brad swings and misses. He gets kicked out of the storage room by Carlito. He closes the door on Brad. He is left in the dark, but he is not alone. Brad gets up and turns on his flashlight to a lot of zombies. He had nowhere to run except the back of the wall. Brad. Well, 𝗧𝗵𝗲 meanwhile with Izuku and Frank, they both ran away from bombs. They were sent flying by the explosion. Izuku wipes the dirt off him. He gets a call from Jessie. Jessie radio. Guys, sounds like you took care of the bombs. How's Brad? Izuku. Yeah, we got rid of the bombs. Frank. Brad went after Carlito. Jessie radio. Copy, report back here, guys. Frank. Yeah, Izuku. I'm going to help Brad. I'll be there later. Jessie. Understood. Izuku turns off the transceiver and goes to help Brad, but little did he know, it was too late. Maintenance tunnel. Izuku's POV. I went to find Brad because he could be in trouble and all I could see was darkness. I spotted a flashlight and picked it up. Suddenly, I heard a cough up ahead which sounded like Brad's. Izuku, Brad. Brad, Izuku. I aimed the flashlight at the wall to find him. Brad, don't get any closer. I saw him on the floor injured, so I moved closer to check on him, but he stopped me. Brad, stay away, Izuku. Don't get near me. Izuku confused. Why, Brad? What's the matter? Are you hurt? He didn't respond and started to groan in pain. Izuku, look, I'm not leaving you behind, Brad, and if you're hurt we'll patch you up like always because I aimed the flashlight below him. My eyes widened by his stomach being torn open and I kneeled down being lost for words. Brad was leaning against the wall in real pain. Brad, pain. I'm screwed, it doesn't hurt not even a little. I could hear him slowly dying while in pain. Brad, pain. I'm already dead. I sigh and put my hand on my face. Brad wasn't going to make it and become a zombie. Brad, pain. Izuku, don't tell Jessie about this. I clenched my fist of me not saving my friend. Brad reached his gun and barely gave it to me. I took out my gun and pointed at him. I closed my eyes while shaking. I took a deep breath and shot him in the head. I put my gun away and I took a deep breath. Izuku, angry. I was holding back tears while taking small breaths. I looked at Brad's dead body one more time and walked away in anger. Izuku, I'm still gonna turn you in and after that, I'll kick your butt, Carlito. Moments later, narrator's POV. After dealing with situations with the survivors, Izuku and Frank have been searching for more people still alive. A girl was bitten but they told her Isabella would help her. Izuku told Frank about Brad and he didn't want to talk about it. Frank didn't want to mention it either. After doing their supply run, they went back to the security room to tell Isabella about Carlito's next plan. Security room, Jessie was sitting waiting for Brad to come back. The West boys opened the door to trying to keep a straight face. Jessie, as soon as Brad gets his hands on that terrorist, I guess it will be case closed, huh? They nodded silently and Izuku fake smiled. They go up to Isabella to ask more about Carlito's plans. Frank, you know of anything else he could be planning? Isabella, no. Nothing but the bombs. Izuku sighs and looks down. Izuku, please, Isabella, we need to finish this. Isabella, he's got his computer hidden away. I'm sure there's plenty of information on it. Izuku, can you take us there? To his hideout. Isabella, leave it to me. Izuku, you two wait outside, I'll be there in just a minute. They nodded and went out of the monitor room. Izuku sighs as he sits down and Jessie was confused by this. Jessie, are you alright? Izuku puts his hand on his forehead and the thought of Brad's dead body goes through his head. The last thing he said to him. Brad flashback, don't tell Jessie about this. Izuku snapped out of it and nodded. Izuku, yeah, it's just Carlito is pissed off about losing his hometown but I wish that he found another way to handle it. If he did then. He sighs and thinks of Brad and how he died. Jessie, then more people will still be alive. Izuku, yeah, pretty much but I don't think that would have changed anything, would it? Jessie, how so? Izuku, you heard what Dr. Barnaby said about the government doing whatever it wants. Framing Santa Cabeza for a drag trade cover-up and I guess this was his way of exposing the truth. Although, I wish he would have done it better. Jessie sighs. To be honest, I never expect this to happen either. We can't change the past, especially saving others, and Jessie sighs and sniffles. Izuku turned around to see her and she was almost in tears. He realized that she knew about Brad and all he could do was hug her. Jessie hugged back and couldn't say it either. Izuku kissed her forehead and went off. Jessie smiled. Good luck, Izuku West. Jessie went back to work and checked on the monitors for any survivors. Izuku went to follow Isabella along with Frank. Carlito's hideout. Izuku's POV. After I'd done with my talk with Jessie, I followed Isabella to Carlito's hideout. We were in the North Plaza and the hideout was near the gun shop. Isabella opens the hatch and we enter the hideout. Isabella, here it is, let's go. After that, Isabella uses the laptop to find Carlito's secrets. We looked around the room to see generators, screens, and supplies, nothing useful. We were just waiting for Isabella to unlock Carlito's computer. Isabella sighs. It's no good, it's password protected. Izuku muttered. Figures. Isabella, I'll try words we both might know, family stuff, things like that. Izuku, you kinda remind me of Jessie. Isabella, how so? Izuku, intelligence and nursing. One of the things I like about a woman. Isabella raised my eyebrow and I chuckled. Izuku, anyway, the laptop. Isabella, alright. Isabella went back to business and my dad noticed something, basically the cable. Frank, what's this cable? Izuku, a jamming device, most likely. Isabella, he's right, and I won't be able to disable it unless I log in. I gave her a thumbs up, and suddenly I radio call from Jessie. Jessie radio, Izuku, can you hear me? Izuku, yeah, what's wrong? Jessie radio, I found something interesting on a security feed from inside a store. Could you come back here? I need you to check it out. Izuku, yeah, I'll be right there. I turned off my transceiver and looked at Dad. Izuku, I'm going to check this out. You stay here and help Isabella with the password or something. Frank, got it. Now go. I nodded and went out of the hideout. Carlito's hideout, Isabella's POV. Izuku left the hideout to check something out with Jessie. He seems like a good guy, but I still feel like he's using me to get what he wants. However, there's something else on my mind. Isabella, Frank. Frank, yeah. Isabella, you don't look like your son. Did you adopt him? Frank sighs. No, not exactly. I felt curious about this. Frank stands up and grabs a chair to tell me something. Frank, you see, it all started in Japan. Frank explained everything to me about Izuku and his mom. He was treated like garbage because he had no powers and his dad was lying, cheating piece of SHT. My eyes widened with my hand on my mouth listening to this. Frank, after that, I raised him like my own son and treated my wife like a real person. Isabella, I can't believe they did that to him. His own sister and father, that's so Frank. F up Isabella, exactly. Frank, I didn't like hearing it either, but it's the truth. Isabella, I knew quirkless people were treated badly, but I didn't think it was this bad. Frank, there were scars and bruises everywhere on his body. Trust me, it was bad. Isabella, it all makes sense now. He had a messed up life as much as us, but he didn't get revenge on it. Frank, that's his choice and it wouldn't change anything, but he chose to overcome it by living his own life. You know, he doesn't want to stay a photojournalist forever, he's finding something better. Isabella, what is it? Frank, he'll tell you because I think it would be better coming from him. I decided to leave it by nodding. So I went back to work. Monitor room, Izuku's POV. I made it back to the security room to see what Jessie wanted me to see. I grabbed ammo from the gun shop just in case. What she shows me is something I couldn't believe. Jessie, take a look at this. I see a person who looks like a butcher dragging someone. He looked familiar. Jessie, the guy being dragged. I think it's Carlito. Izuku. Yeah, I thought I recognized him. Where was this taken? Jessie, the basement of the North Plaza right in front of the butcher shop. Izuku sighed and chuckled. Izuku, man, we have been chasing this guy forever and now he needs saving. I'll go save him, and after that I kicked his butt. Jessie adjusted her glasses and sighs. Jessie, well, good luck and be careful. I nodded and went off to save him. I told Dad to come with me to the maintenance tunnel in front of the basement. In the basement. Butcher's shop, narrator's POV. The West boys enter the butcher shop to the butcher and hang Carlito on the hook. He groaned in pain and the butcher, Larry, noticed the photojournalist and the boy with green hair. Larry, customers. Larry laughs and turns around, their eyes widen to see a big creepy guy right in front of them. Izuku smiled. Hello, sir, we would like that meat to go. Izuku pointed at Carlito and Larry grinned at it. Larry thought, this is good meat. I just got it in here. It's fresh. Larry laughs. You just wait right there, boys. In a moment, you two can try the best ground meat you've ever tasted. Frank, whoa, ground. Izuku, no, we were thinking of something else in mind. Larry, zombies are no good. I cannot serve my customers spoiled meat like that. I have a reputation to uphold. Larry swings clevier at them. They back up a little as the butcher laughs. Larry grinned. Trust me. I'm a butcher. I've got the best meat in town. Larry turns on the meat grinder and Carlito's meat hook starts moving towards the conveyor belt. The West boys had no choice but to fight in order to save Carlito at least. Boss battle music. Izuku went charging towards the meat grinder machine to turn it off, but Larry stopped him by swinging his meat cleaver. Izuku did a backflip. Larry laughs, taunting Izuku. He wasn't bothered by that, but he was a little mad that he was getting in his way. Larry, I don't think so. You can't have good raw meat because it's not right for your body. Izuku looks at the giant meat and takes off the hook. Izuku, I eat enough meat. Izuku charges at him with the meat and slams it on his whole body. He's knocked to the ground. He stomps on his face and backs up. Larry gets up and grabs the meat. He was about to throw, but Izuku shot him 5 times. Izuku walks up to him while he is on his knees. "Izuku, get him down, Dad." He nodded and Izuku punched the butcher over and over again. He was shot and beaten to death. He laughs at his final breath. Butchers shop Izuku's POV. After dealing with the butcher, Carlito was free from his death. "Man, I never thought I saved him." Carlito crawls to the wall. I looked at with glaring along with my dad. "Frank, you're finished. It's over." "Carlito, what about Isabella?" I bend down to him and sighs. "Izuku, she's safe and right now she looking for your password for your computer." I could hear Carlito's last dying breath. He looked at my dad and said, "Carlito, my purpose in life has been to get revenge for what you people did to 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃 to my hometown." He coughs softly and groans. "Carlito, why was your meat so much more important to you than human life? Why did my people have to die to feed your fat bellies?" I punched him not too hard, but he groaned in pain still. I scoffed. "Izuku, I didn't even punch that hard. Besides, that's not an excuse and you did things way worse than zombies. Izuku, for example, you killed my friend and who else am I forgetting? Oh yeah, you shot your sister, you moron." Dad snorted and Carlito glared at me. I sighed and nodded. "Izuku, and don't worry, the 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 story will be told, but we need the password." His eyes start to close and Dad shakes him. "Frank, hey, stay with me. Give us the computer's password." Carlito begins to laugh, which leaves us confused. "Izuku, what's funny?" "Carlito, hey, aren't zombies great?" Dad lets him go. We were still confused. "Izuku, what do you mean by that?" "Carlito, I mean all they do is eat and eat and eat. Growing in number just like you good red, white, and blue Americans." I sigh and shook my head. He spits out BLD and Dad stands up. He coughs again. "Izuku, and they're just you, Carlito. Stupid and annoying." Carlito chuckled and coughed. "Carlito, it's not over." "Not yet." I started to shake him. "Izuku, hey. What do you mean it's not over? How cannot be over?" Carlito grabs his locket and brings it near his mouth and speaks to it. Carlito sad. "I'm sorry, Isabella." He removes his locket and gives it to me. "Carlito, please give this to my sister." I took it from his hand and he closed his eyes. He looked like he was dead. "Frank, hey." I checked his pulse, then looked at Dad and shook my head. I sighed and Dad slammed his knee. "Plus Frank, 𝗧𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃." I looked at the locket and put it in my pocket. I looked at Carlito's dead body. "Izuku, we'll fix this." We walked out of the butcher's shop and went to the hideout. I wonder how Isabella will take the news. Carlito's hideout, Izuku's POV. I told Dad to go back to the security room to let me know if people are still out there. Meanwhile, I went back to the hideout to tell her. Sure, he was a bad guy, but he had his reasons and he cared for his sister. She turned to see me with my head down. I took a deep breath. "Izuku, Carlito is gone." Her eyes widened with sadness and depression. "Isabella, no." She turned back to the laptop. I sighed and rubbed my neck. "Izuku, you know he cared about you till the very end. He said he was sorry." I sighed heavily and sat beside her. "Izuku, although he didn't tell his password, but besides the point. You see, when I was a kid, I wanted to get revenge on the people who did this to me. It wasn't gonna make it better because revenge is just a fool's game." I clenched my fist and slammed it on the floor. "Izuku, that idiot." I sighed and looked at Isabella with a sad look on her face. I pulled out the locket and showed it to Isabella. "Izuku, your brother wanted you to have this." She takes the locket and opens it while holding it. Isabella said, "Papa, Mama." The sound in her voice made me more angry about the government even more. She began to cry and I patted her shoulder. "Izuku, softly, take your time." I turned away to give her a moment and she started to say, "Isabella, 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃." I was confused by that word, knowing it must be important. Suddenly, I heard a beep and turned to see "access granted" on the laptop. "Izuku, 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 was the password. What does that word mean?" "Isabella, 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 Mother Earth." Our parents said that a lot. I stood there and listened to her. Isabella sad. The place we lived. 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃 was blessed with nature. She looked at me with a sad look. Isabella sad, please believe me when I say my brother didn't want all this. He only wanted to live in peace in 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃. I sigh with understanding and nodded. Isabella looked the photo of her parents and brother. She had nothing left and suddenly, I heard a ring coming from my phone. I looked at the name of person and it was my mom. Izuku, Mom, are you okay? Inko voice, that's my line. You had me worry sick. I called you to ask how your trip was and, Izuku, Mom, just listen. Inko voice, alright. Izuku, look, I need you to get the pro heroes but not the police or FBI, you can't trust them. Inko voice, what? But. Izuku, I don't have time to explain, just do it, only tell the heroes please. Inko voice, sighs, alright but you explained, young man. Izuku, okay, Bye. I hung up and sigh with relief. Isabella looked at me with a smile. Isabella, your mother is something else. Izuku, she has a kind heart. So what was yours? Isabella, my mother was, I got a call from my transceiver. I answered it. Jessie radio, Izuku, the emergency line's been freed up. I'll give headquarters a call. My eyes widened by this before I could say something. Jessie radio, hang on. I sigh and shook my head. I spoke with Dad about something. Izuku, Dad, this is Izuku. Frank radio, I copy, what is it? Izuku, bring Jessie back to the hideout if something happens. Frank voice, what do you mean? Izuku, if something happens, just do it. Frank radio, I turned off the transceiver and looked at Isabella. Izuku, help's not coming, is it? Isabella sighs, I'm afraid you already know the answer. Izuku, I was afraid you were gonna say that. Time to go to the gun shop to warn a person. Isabella muttered, weird American. Izuku, I'm Japanese. Frank's my stepdad but he raised unlike my real father and treated my mom well. He wanted me to make my own choices because he's proud of being a normal person. Isabella, quirkless. Izuku slightly smiled. Yeah. I walked away and went out of the hideout. To get ammo and warn Cletus about the bad thing happening. Monitor room Frank's POV. Jessie went to contact headquarters and what she told me. I think I knew what Izuku meant by getting Jessie to the hideout. She calls Izuku on the transceiver. Jessie, Izuku, it's over, HQ's decided to ignore us. Izuku radio, say, I knew it. What did they say? Jessie, I contacted headquarters, but the government has decided to deny all knowledge of what happened here. Izuku radio, of course. Anything else? Jessie, special forces will arrive for cleanup at midnight. They'll take everyone out, zombies, people, everyone. Izuku radio, look, we still have that helicopter coming tomorrow at 12 p.m. Don't worry about other survivors. Otis told me he has a pilot license and I told him to get the survivors out of this city. Frank, I can take you to the hideout. Jessie took a deep breath and nodded. Jessie, alright, let's get this over with. Izuku voice, okay, be careful and see you later. Jessie puts the transceiver away and she follows me to the hideout. Hopefully, we don't meet any special forces on the way and if Izuku is okay. Carlito's hideout. Izuku's POV. I told Cletus about the help coming and he said he would handle it because he doesn't know much and he would get out easily. Why? Because he was in a gun shop all day. I also went to get food and drinks. This is the story of my life, going to a zombie-infested mall, dealing with a terrorist who is blinded with revenge, and getting shot by psychos or getting almost killed by a clown. I've been waiting for Dad and Jessie to show up. It's almost midnight. So I decided to go look for them but they just showed up. Izuku sighs, I was gonna go look for you too. Jessie smiled, well, we're here, so don't worry. I hugged her tight and she hugged me back. After that, we sat down while holding hands. Jessie, what now? Izuku shrugged, we'll wait until real help arrives. Jessie, that's it? Izuku, simple as that. Jessie smiled and took a rest on my shoulder. Dad sighs and sits on the floor. Izuku, so did Mom call you? Or was it just me? Frank, yeah, she called me on the way over here. She told me about what was going on here and I told her I would call her back and explained. Before I could speak, I heard some gunfire outside of the hideout. Entrance plaza, 12 a.m. narrator's POV. It was now midnight and there were zombies in the entrance plaza, including the whole mall. Now, that changed when the special forces arrived and they opened fire on the zombies. They started dropping like flies. This is a funny way of special forces doing a cleanup check. Although, I wouldn't call these guys janitors. Carlito's hideout Izuku's POV. Judging by those sounds, that was gunfire from the special forces. I could still hear it, but it would eventually stop and that we can get out of here, together. Isabella, the military, they'll come, won't they? It's just like Santa Cabeza. The government wants to cover this up too, I sighed and nodded. Then I looked at Jessie. Izuku, how do you feel about all this? Jessie, that's just it. I don't know whether to be mad or scared about this. Izuku, it's okay, I get it. Everybody feels that way and we can only conquer it, it's part of being human. Otherwise, we won't be able to save others and stand up for what's right. Jessie sighs, I hope you're right. Izuku, just get some rest. She nodded and went to take a nap. I yawned and figured I needed one too. So I fell asleep too. Hours later, narrator's POV. The special forces were done cleaning up the place. The scene shows a man who is mostly likely the leader of this unit. He stares at bodies like he has seen this all before. The special forces were done for now, so they moved out. Carlito's hideout Izuku's POV. We had 2 hours left before the helicopter showed up. I got my stuff and went with the others. Isabella wanted to stay behind, but that would mean leaving her. Izuku, we want us to leave you. Isabella, I can't go anywhere. I'm a target for the government and I would just slow you down. Izuku, Isabella, we can still get this story out and we need you for this. Isabella, but you have your pictures, story, and Izuku, I'm not leaving you behind. She pushed me back and I looked at her with tears in her eyes. Isabella, just go please. Jessie, Isabella. Dad sighs and shakes his head and walks away. Izuku, all right, but I will tell your story. She nodded and we went to the helipad. Isabella was left alone in the hideout and I hope she finds a way to get out. As my mom, I told the truth. She didn't believe me, can't say I blame her, but she said she called the heroes. However, we didn't have time to wait. Helipad rooftop 12 p.m. narrator's POV. Izuku, Frank and Jessie arrived at the rooftop. The helicopter was not here. Izuku, he said he'd be here, I know it. Jessie sighs. Well, he must have gotten tipped off by the military. Izuku, I highly doubt that because we promised him a share in the take. Frank, come on, he probably late. Let's just wait. They nodded and decided to stay until Ed showed up. The pilot, Ed, was here and was watching them from a distance. Ed looking, well, I'll be damned. They're still alive and they brought a friend. Those son of beaches made it. Ed gasps with realizing something that it made him smile. Ed, that must mean they got their scoop. Ed got up and went to helicopter. Ed smiled. I can't wait to get my share of the take, huh? He puts on his headset while writing to them and laughing happily. Ed, all right, you just hang tight buddies, I'm on my way. The 3 survivors were about to leave but they heard a noise behind them. They turned to see helicopter that had just arrived. Their eyes widened and it made them happy. Frank, hey. Izuku laughed. About time you showed up. We thought you left us behind. Ed smiled. I see you guys. I see you. Yeah, I'm on my way. Ed raised his fist and laughed happily again. Ed smiled. Yeah, you did it. You did it. Yeah. Oh, he was cut off by the zombie that snuck on helicopter. The West boys were confused and used their cameras to get a closer look. Their eyes widened to see the pilot getting eaten. The helicopter went above them and crashed onto the park. Their one way was down the drain. The 3 went on their knees to see they had lost all hope. Frank was distracted but the 2, Izuku and Jessie, saw zombies behind them. Izuku pulled out his sword and ran at the zombies while glaring at them. Izuku screams while. Every one of the zombies, even though the ones who dead already. Izuku, I hate zombies. Arg. Jessie, Izuku. Calm down. He ignored her because he was distracted with a pointless action. Slash after slash, he was getting BLD on the ground, his sword, and his shirt. I took a deep breaths. Izuku screams to the sky and went unconscious. Jessie, Izuku. Frank turned around to see dead zombie bodies and his son knocked out. Frank worried. Oh no. They ran to him and checked to see if he was alright. Isabella arrived at the rooftop to see the bodies. Isabella shocked. What happened here? She saw Izuku with his eyes closed and covered in blood thinking he was dead. Isabella, Izuku. What happened? She goes to them. Jessie shook her head and worried. Jessie, he's just unconscious. What are you doing here? Isabella, I decided to come along anyway, thanks to Izuku. But I saw the helicopter and rushed right over here. Frank, we'll explain later, right now we need to get him back to the hideout. I carry him. Plus she nodded and got up. Frank carries his son and gets off the roof. Izuku lost his mind and his hatred for zombies got even more personal.